Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
I just want to tell the audience that they're really cheating themselves if they're not watching on the YouTube or the Twitter feed at the beginning of the show, because, and Fred just said it looks like sort of a nursing home, but Sue and I grab our blankets that the listeners so generously gifted us that we still don't know who it was. They remained anonymous, but we appreciate that. And all told, how many blankets were sent, Sue? Were there 4 sent overall?
Yeah.
Wait, yeah, your mic is, what's going on with that deal? That's always a good start, right? Usually Ethan's
4.
able to fix that.
We
There
got
you go.
4, and that was very generous. 2 pink and 2 blue, and we so appreciate it.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
You want to try that again
Use
with
them
that
every
other mic?
day.
Let's test this. It's always good to work out the particulars of the show when we're doing the show. Say it again. No, that's not working there, Ethan. So something's going on.
Oh, wait, there it did.
There. Whoa. Here
Something
we go.
happened, people.
It worked. We can turn that one off. All right, so let's just start the whole damn thing over again. How is everyone on this Monday?
Great, thanks
It's
for
not
asking.
Monday, is it? It's Wednesday.
No, it's
oh my
Wednesday.
God.
Great,
This is
thanks
what
for
happens. How
asking.
was moving day yesterday?
It was warm, but it turned out fine.
Yeah, today would have been a better day because it's really not uncomfortable out there right now.
Well, people are moving. I did not realize the movers only had 1 day open this month, and it was that Monday. It was a Monday, and then we kind of partially moved yesterday as well.
Really?
Yeah.
So they didn't have any other time to do it.
1 day open. I mean, apparently it gets better in the fall, but boy, they're really slammed in the summer.
Well, because a lot of families want to get into the new houses
School
by school
districts.
time and everything
Sure.
like that. So, are you completely out, or do you still have stuff to do at the old house?
Oh, I still have stuff to
Yeah.
do, and I got to stage it to sell it.
Yeah. So, are you doing that on your own, basically?
Well, I actually have got a friend of mine who is there are different kinds of staging. You can virtually stage. I could just take pictures of your empty house, and then they virtually stage it with fake furniture, and
Oh.
you can't really tell anymore.
Right.
There's the kind where they come over and say, we're going to use your stuff, but we're going to tweak it, and I'll bring in pillows and fluffy things, and we'll kind
Well,
of
that makes
floof
sense,
it.
right? Yeah.
Or you can empty the place out and bring in furniture. And I've opted for number 2 because I haven't tried that before, and I trust her, and I can tell everybody else what to do. But when it's my own house, I think, duh. So I'm having her come in.
Well,
and
option
help.
number 2 seems to be the good compromise. It won't
Yes.
cost as much, right? I don't know
Correct.
what's the ballpark for if you're staging a home. You're looking
Well,
at 1,500, 2,000,
oh,
2,500, more
yeah.
than that.
Probably. And then
Okay.
it depends on how long and how many rooms,
Right.
right? And how big your house is. So so we'll see how this goes. And I'm kind of excited about it. But yeah, I got to go back there.
You know, I told you I had this house in the city not too far from where you live for many years. And I remember when I put this damn thing on the market several times before we sold it. But I remember, I think it was the first time I had it on the market, I would go to the open houses in the neighborhoods,
Yeah.
near me to see what the competition was like. And damn it, if they didn't all look better because they were staged.
Yeah,
and
listen.
it looked really good. And I'm like, well, I don't think I can compete with this. And, some of it was like IKEA stuff that was brand new.
Uh-huh.
And this is back when, the house flippers were really doing their thing. I would say this would be early, like 2010, 2011, that era.
I'll tell
if
you
you
what,
will.
staging is no joke. It's the best way to do it. So that's why I'm going to try this just to see if the middle option works.
What does that tell you about the stuff that you have in your house? It looks
Well, I
like
got to
nobody
keep-
likes it, right?
Well, I got to keep some of it, but she'd walk through and say, this goes, this stays, this goes, this stays, and I'll bring. She said on any bookshelf, it's got to be 50% of the books that are there now. Your cookbooks
Yeah, you
have
have
to
too
be
many- you mean you have
reduced
too
by
many books?
50%. Correct.
Really?
You got to get it down and make it look clean and open so that they think, yes, I can move in here.
Oh,
You
look
see
at
what I'm
that.
saying?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine. Now, no plans to move. I've moved too much. I chronicled that the other day. But thinking about moving would make me so nervous and freaked out because of all the animals, and there's
Oh my gosh.
little areas that the bunny has gone after on the carpet. So I don't even know how I would show a house with all those damn animals in there.
Well,
At
you'd have-
night.
yeah.
Shoot at night.
Yeah, right. I have to get them all out with and by the way, yesterday you weren't here, so I had to go weigh the puppy. I had to weigh Max
Aw,
so he
how
could
much?
get his Bravecto, which is like the flea and tick stuff, 36.8 pounds.
Wow, is he grown?
The last time, which was 5 weeks ago, he was 25. So
Wow.
he's gained about 10 pounds just in the last month. And now, his paws
Me
are
too.
still big. Fred's like, yeah, me too. Paws are still big, but they don't look like he's got like a ton of growing into him now. He does probably. I think I'm trying to make myself feel better. But, when you Google that, I don't know if this is accurate. So how big will a dog who's 5 months old? He was 5 months old yesterday. Today's the 20th, right? So that was the 19th. He was born March 19th. How much will a dog that weighs 36 pounds weigh when it's full grown? They say, what would your guess be?
Gosh, I don't know, 80?
60 to 80.
Okay.
So I'm hoping for the 60 side of that, but I'm kind of locked in at this point for sure. All right, well, we got a lot of stuff going on here today. I do want to mention, too, on a fun factor note, we'll have George Gray in tomorrow to do The Price is Wrong. George is awesome with us. He, of course, is the voice of The Real Price is Right on CBS television, the highest-rated daytime television show that there is. He works with Drew Carey every day, and he is a St. Louis guy and a Cardinals fan, typically. We'll find out about that tomorrow. But he did text me a couple of days ago, and he's coming back in town. Mama May, his mom lives here, so George is swinging in, I think, even later today, and he's going to be with us tomorrow. He's very generous with his time. He always makes time for us. And we had him set up on a day that I had to miss about 4 to 5 weeks ago. So I'm looking forward to seeing him because I haven't caught up with him. We have Josh KRAUSHAAR, who is a 97.1 political insider, the editor-in-chief of the Jewish Insider, and a political analyst for Fox Radio and Fox TV. He's going to join us here in a couple of minutes with a bunch of different topics, including there's some Union Station protests today. It's the same people at Union Station that I see. Remember last week I was talking about the
Smithsonian had a bunch too.
Yeah, but no, I was talking about like when you're downtown Lockwood and Elm in Webster Groves, and there's a couple of those churches right there. It's the same old white guilty hippies that hold the BLM signs. That's exactly what you have in D.C. And there were some great responses from Pete Hegseth and Stephen Miller and the vice president who were there today. And I'll have that audio for you. Brad Young's going to join us this hour, our chief legal analyst. We'll have Alex Rich in the 4 o'clock hour. I got some fun stuff for that. And then Eric Schmidt, who has written a new book. I have to be mentioned somewhere, like in the dedication, in the foreword, in the acknowledgments. Fred, what do you think? Maybe a whole chapter?
I think a footnote.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, there should be something in there from the former official state senator of the Mark Reardon show. And then you missed this yesterday. I'm sure you didn't miss the story, Sue. You weren't here. But, Andrew Bailey, and we love Andrew Bailey, comes to see us in person quite a bit. He's heading to Washington to be the co-deputy director of the FBI, which I think eventually he's going to be not the co. I think he's just going to be the deputy director of the FBI. And Catherine Hanaway was named as the new AG by Governor Mike Kehoe. We thought maybe we would get her on the air yesterday. It didn't work out schedule-wise. But, Fred, you tell me that she will be here in person tomorrow.
Yeah, in the 5 o'clock hour, she'll be here in studio.
I have not seen Catherine in a long time. I mean, Sue, she was a regular on the roundtable for many years.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. Did I say the Jeff Smith story yesterday or not?
No.
Because still, this is one of the craziest things to me. And I remember it better than most people. But when Jeff Smith was indicted many years ago, I think this would have been 2011 or something like that, 2010, 2011, for lying to the FBI about this mailer that got sent out. He went to federal prison. He wrote a book about it, Mr. Smith Goes to Prison. It's a good book. And then Jeff kind of made his way, as many past felons do, made their way back to the Mark Reardon show. The joke was always, if you're on the panel, you tend to go to federal prison. We've had several that have done that. Lewis Reed.
It's a high risk.
Jeffrey Boyd. There is a high risk. But, Jeff came out of that strong, and I love him as a friend and as a person. And, he's great on the show now. But literally the Friday before he was indicted, and this stuff was bubbling, but I don't think most people knew about it. And Catherine was a former U.S. attorney, right? So she would have been involved in the case. Well, at this point, she knew. She's sitting with Jeff Smith in the room. This was at KMOX, Fred. And that Friday, it was one of those Sixth Sense type moments where the next week, the story comes out that he's indicted. And I rewind in my brain back to Friday thinking, oh my God, both of them knew that this was coming out. There's no way that you can convince me otherwise. And they sat there and they did that roundtable that afternoon. So that was an interesting moment. But yeah, she was regular on the roundtable for a long time. I've got some negative, I think it's a great choice. She's got a ton of experience. She was a U.S. attorney. She's been in private practice now for a while. She was the first female speaker of the Missouri House, ran for statewide office as well. So there's no doubt about her level of expertise and competence. And some people on Twitter have shot back, terrible choice. I don't know where that comes from outside of the fact that she's kind of deemed more establishment. Mike Kehoe is a little bit more establishment as well. Nick Schroer's name was in the mix for that position. At least Nick said that. I saw that on his Twitter. But he's someone, it's so funny because here we are. We're already talking about everything that's going to happen next year and in 28. Everything that is in the news cycle, like even redistricting in Texas and here, it's not really about the moment. It's about what's going to happen next year. And there really is, I got to be careful with my time here, so I might hold off on this, but there's some really interesting it's not polling, it's more just numbers and information from the states. There's a guy by the name of Shane Goldmacher who writes at the New York Times, and they did a story today in a deep dive into the numbers of voter registration situations in red states, blue states, and battleground states alike. And the amount of ground that the Democrats are losing to the Republicans everywhere is quite stunning. It really is. And I'll share those numbers with you here a little bit later in the afternoon. I was going to do that now, but I got off on the tangent. I do have a great story for when Alex Rich is here, because this is relatable as a parent. And I heard some discussion about this on Fox today. My daughter's 10, for example. She has soccer practice tonight. She had volleyball practice last night. And, we try to get her involved in as much. Remember, she used to do swimming as well. But you get to this point, and Tom Brady was kind of talking about this last week, where, and I think some of this has to do with a lack of parental coaches and, just supply and demand, as everything does. But if you don't get your kid into that, like soccer right away, and then all of a sudden they decide to play soccer, and they're just a little older, then they're at the point where all these other kids have kind of passed them up. And the advice, who was it talking about this? It wasn't Tom Brady. Greg Olson, yeah, former NFL player who's on the broadcast team for Fox, saying, look, don't narrow this down to just one sport. But I think a lot of parents do that, and they feel pressured to do it, because if they kind of spread it around a little bit, you get to a point where the kids feel like they can't catch up to the skill level. And it's kind of sad when you think about it. And there's a lot of competition about that. But we'll get to all of that here this afternoon, plus an audio cut of the day and more.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We had a report of an accident southbound Lindbergh past Rott Road. Watch for that, the left lane and the center turn lane. Now, we do have some volume out there. Westbound 70 isn't bad. Out of downtown, it looks pretty good. Little slow at Wentzville. 6440 is slow, and that's around Hampton out through McCausland, also at 270, and the Lake St. Louis Boulevard out through Prospect. Southbound 270, slow pockets from Page down through 40. And we've got a jam on westbound 44 as you head toward 109. Pretty slow there at the Merrimack River. Could be an accident out there. And if you're headed into Illinois, we've got 55-64 jammed, headed for the 70 split. And that, of course, is eastbound. I'm Sue Thomas. This report brought to you by Lakeside Renovation and Design. For over 25 years, they've been St. Louis's trusted choice for transforming homes inside and out. Siding, kitchens, baths, outdoor spaces, windows. They deliver quality craftsmanship backed by lifetime warranties. Visit lakesiderd.com to start your dream project today. I'm Sue Thomas. That's Traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Many people dream of learning how to play the piano. Hi, this is Kathy from Lacefield Music, but few ever do. And here are a few of the reasons why. I can't read music, it will take too long, it's too expensive, it's too hard, or I've tried before and I failed. This would be true with most piano lessons, but not with Lacefield Music's innovative adult piano classes. With Lacefield Music's classes, you will learn how to read music and play with both your right and left hand the very first week. And you'll be able to play all your favorite songs in only 8 weeks. Maybe not fast, but you'll be able to play them. Lacefield Music's adult piano course is usually $100, but only twice a year we open this course up to the public for the low price of only $29.99. That's only $29.99 for all 8 weeks. What have you got to lose? Classes are forming now in our Chesterfield location. Call 636-778-2070 or go to lacefieldmusic.com to sign up online. That's lacefieldmusic.com.
Rolling hot dogs 2 for $5 on a fluffy bun. All beef hot dogs rolling in. Hurry, cause they're on the run. Pick your toppings anyway. Roll into this deal. Pick your 2, big Q2. Roll and mix a meal. Mustard relish, sauerkraut. Ain't no need to scream and shout. Get 2 all beef hot dogs and a big Q for $5. Only at QT.
more than a gas station.
Hi, my name is Christina Straight, the owner of Straight Realty, and I'm asking you, what do you want in a realtor? Do you want experience? I've been a broker for over 21 years. Do you want to know how much I've sold? I've sold over $500 million, yes, $1 billion with a B, in sales. Do you want value? I now list properties for only 2%. So, if you're looking for all these things and want the best, then call me 314-441-4444. Why pay more than 2? You can also listen to my podcast on my website, straightrealty.com.
Commissions are not regulated and negotiable. Straight Realty is a licensed broker in the state of Missouri.
We've been here 30 years, 30 Christmases in this house, and we have the traditions that most families have.
That's Terry talking about her experience with Rhino Shield ceramic coating.
We did Rhino Shield 14 years ago, and the house still looks the same as the first day. Rhino Shield really worked with me to help me get just the right nice soft yellow, and it's 14 years later and it's the same color.
The main reason Terry called Rhino Shield is because it's backed by its 25-year transferable warranty.
It just sounded wonderful that we could have the house coated with Rhino Shield and not have to worry about it again for 25 years.
Take it from Terry. Give Rhino Shield a call now for a free evaluation. 877-25-RHINO. 877-25-RHINO or visit 877-25rhino.com.
There have been neighbors that have come by and said, "Did you just have your house painted?" Because they wanted to know who the contractor was. And I said, "No, it's actually Rhino Shield."
877-25rhino.com.
From politics to pop culture, Reardon breaks it all down. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Well, Josh KRAUSHAAR is back with us this afternoon. He's one of my favorite pundits. He's been with me for a long time on this show, 97.1 FM Talk Political Insider. He's the editor-in-chief of the Jewish Insider, and you see him on Fox News all the time and on Fox Radio. You hear him. Josh, how are you? I hope you're having a good summer.
It's great. Great to be back with you, Mark. It's summer here in D.C., but there's never a dull moment when it comes to news out of the White House.
And Missouri supplied some of that news this week, sending our Attorney General, or I guess our former Attorney General, Andrew Bailey, to the FBI. We've got, man, if you're Attorney General in Missouri, you last about 2 years and then you go on to better things. That seems to be the pattern right now.
Yeah, no, that's a big story in Missouri for the rapid ascent of Andrew Bailey. There's also, the layering of Dan Bongino in the deputy AG role. That seems like his role may be diminishing somewhat in Washington.
Yes, it
especially
does.
amid the Jeffrey Epstein news.
Yeah. So, what are your thoughts on that? Because it seemed like that was an unusual. Well, I was surprised by it. I didn't think that was going to happen. That Andrew Bailey was going to go to Washington. So, what's your take on what happened here? Is it because you're saying it's because of some of the Epstein stuff related to Bongino?
Well, yeah. Look, I don't have any new reporting, but it's well established that Dan Bongino was an unconventional pick for that deputy FBI director's position. He's a podcaster. He's a provocateur, and when you're in government, you have to play team ball. And it was with the questions over release of Epstein information from the government. Being on the same team and being in the same holding the line with Pam Bondi and with the White House became challenging. At least some parts of his listening audience in the past and the base of the MAGA movement was very frustrated with Bongino, and we're giving him some hell online. And it became very frustrating. So, I'm not sure if he's going to be lasting long in that position. I think the hiring of Bailey is a sign that Bongino may not be in that role too much longer. But it is, at the very least, a very unconventional setup where you have essentially two deputy AGs reporting to Kash Patel at the FBI.
Do you think, a couple of weeks ago I heard, is Pam Bondi's job on the line just a little bit for some of those same reasons? Is she on the hot seat or not?
No, I never thought. I said so as much at the time. President Trump trusts Pam Bondi. There's a loyalty there, and look, I think we are now past that political storm where, a couple of weeks after all the heat the White House was facing, Donald Trump still has record high support within the Republican Party. I think Pam Bondi, if you look at the polls, her own image is taking a hit, especially among maybe some independents and maybe some of the MAGA base. But ultimately, Trump is the decider. He does trust Pam Bondi. She's been one of his loyal soldiers when it comes to enforcing some of the executive orders he's made with policing in D.C., National Guard showing up in the nation's capital. She's been a face of that decision. And I think there's no sign at all that she is in trouble at the Justice Department.
So what do you think right now of the D.C., I don't know if you want to call it a takeover or whatever it's referred to as? You know, you're essentially a D.C. resident. I always used to see out there. It's been a few years since I've been to D.C., and I used to stay right there by Union Station. Obviously, there is, the contention that this is, again, that something that Trump is doing because of politics and Epstein. I think that's a bunch of crap. You probably saw earlier today Pete Hegseth and the vice president, making some comments about this situation. Then you have questions about the crime rates maybe being manipulated. It seems like a lot of people, even Joe Scarborough, Josh, who finally have to be honest about the situation, admit, yeah, this is a little bit of a problem, and folks probably want something done about it in the nation's capital.
Yeah, look, crime has been a problem in the nation's capital. It was worse a few years ago. The trend has been in the right direction, by the way, because of Republicans in Congress. When Biden was president, the D.C. City Council wanted to actually loosen penalties for some serious crimes at a time when D.C. was facing, at the time, record levels of crime. And it became so politically toxic that even Joe Biden and President Biden supported overruling the D.C. Council. And what ended up happening in D.C. is that the moderates on the city council, the mayor, who tends to be more moderate on these issues, actually won the fight, and more punitive penalties, more stronger penalties were actually enforced when it came to felonies and carjackings and other serious crimes. One bit, the problem I think with I think the public looks at Washington and they don't. Many of them don't see this as excessive. They think that D.C. needs more law enforcement, and they don't view the National Guard hanging out being a problem. Look, the challenge is I think a lot of the National Guard is stationed at the National Mall, the Lincoln Memorial. These are not the high crime areas in D.C., like the Columbia Heights, Anacostia. There are other parts of the city that probably could use more law enforcement, and I'm not sure if they're getting that level of support. And secondarily, look, the biggest issue, and Jeanine Pirro, the new U.S. attorney in D.C., has really been ahead of the curve on this. But one of the biggest problems when it comes to D.C. crime is that juveniles, not just juveniles, anyone under the age of 25, judges can basically let them loose. They have a great deal of discretion in terms of how much time they serve, even if it's for a murder or a violent crime. And that's an issue that you see these repeat offenders that are juveniles out on the streets reoffending. You see there was a guy someone was shot at a metro at a bus station. The suspect was 19 years old. They got a very light sentence. There are many instances like this, and partly is because of the D.C. law that basically gives judges incredible amounts of discretion in loosening the penalties for some of these serious crimes.
We have this weird situation here, and I just learned about we have a point system for these juvenile offenders. This kind of came up a couple of weeks ago. We had these group of 14-year-old kids who carjacked an Uber driver, and they were arrested. There was a weapon involved. And they're pulled into custody. They're released to their parents. 2 days later, they do the same thing to a Lyft driver. So, the criminals are educated. The older people know that the young kids aren't going to get in trouble. You get these points based on felonies. How, in fact, you can't reach the maximum 15 points when you carjack someone and use a gun, I think is now up for debate here in Missouri and in St. Louis. But it's, some of these things, the pattern is the same from my city all the way to your city. Josh KRAUSHAAR is with us this afternoon. All right, is Trump going to score another victory here when it comes to Putin and Zelensky, or are we being a little bit too optimistic right now?
I am more pessimistic. I think there's a lot. Trump likes the drama, the glamour that we saw this week in Washington, with really every major European world leader coming to Washington, having conversations, including Zelensky, the Ukrainian leader, having conversations about a possible negotiation. But we're not hearing much from Russia. We're not hearing much pressure. I mean, the problem is that by giving Putin essentially the red carpet out in Alaska and giving him sort of and backing down from the potential sanctions and from the discussion of a ceasefire, which was the whole point of a lot of these negotiations in the first place, we really haven't kept the pressure up on Putin. So it doesn't look like Putin's in any mood to meet with to have any of these trilateral negotiations. He's stalling as he has throughout this whole process. He's continuing to attack Ukraine. A lot of civilians being killed on a daily basis. So look, Lindsey Graham and Richard Blumenthal in the Senate have a tough sanctions bill that they've been promoting and really eager to get going. And I think if Russia isn't serious about cutting the deal, I think at a certain point Trump has to lay the punishment on, and we haven't seen a whole lot of that, despite some encouraging moves and some high-profile diplomacy, ultimately there hasn't been a lot of movement towards actually getting Russia to stop killing Ukrainians and to stop attacking Ukraine and to actually come up with some agreement.
Let's move to Texas and the redistricting. We're going to try to do some of this here. I'm a little uncomfortable with it just because I understand the point. I know that Trump's putting pressure on our governor, Mike Kehoe, and the legislature is going to be likely called into a special session or what they call an extraordinary session. They're going to try to redraw the maps here. I'm uncomfortable from this standpoint that I don't think voters really like it when you start doing these things every couple years. Then again, I don't know how dialed in people will really be, but obviously there's a little competition going right now, whether it's Texas or California or Missouri, to make sure the numbers are there for Republicans next fall, Josh.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of partisan machinations from California to Texas and into Missouri and Indiana. And look, first of all, I think getting a few extra seats probably isn't going to make the difference between Republicans. If it's not, usually the party in power loses seats, and sometimes they can lose a lot of seats
typically
in a bad year.
Right.
Republicans hold a very narrow majority. So let's say they get 4 or 5 seats out of Texas, and let's say California doesn't do anything. I still don't know if that's going to make the difference between, if it's not a good night for Republicans, you're not going to be able to gerrymander your way into the House majority or holding the House majority. So I also think there's some risks involved. You really look at the Texas map. Look, I think they'll get at least several seats out of that redraw. But a lot of the map is premised on the fact that Hispanic voters, which swung very much to Trump and to the Republicans in 2024, a lot of that is premised on the fact that they're going to stay with the Republicans. There are a couple majority Hispanic districts that actually went for Biden or were actually a little more Democratic not that long ago. And I think when it comes to immigration policy, look, these folks are very anti-illegal immigration, tough on border security. But when you see images of laborers, of people who are here illegally but are not committing any crimes, that are being, pulled over, deported, that's not playing well with the Hispanic community across the country. Poland is starting to show that. And I think there could be a little bit of, sometimes you get your eyes are bigger than your stomach and you're like, I can win this seat and this seat and this seat. Well, 2 of those seats, those Hispanic majority seats, might actually not be as winnable for Republicans as they think. And they may end up, costing their party in the long term if they get a little too greedy.
Yeah, and I get that. So, and all these races are local. So, and you have to have, you and I have talked about this, the quality of the candidate really does matter in these local congressional races. But then you have the other side of the equation right now. And maybe this is more bigger picture toward, and I can't even believe I'm talking about, 28 at this point, but Mamdani is the gift that keeps on giving for Republicans, sort of like Cori Bush was here in St. Louis. So a lot can happen between now, certainly, and next year, and certainly now in a few years. But it seems like you have the Democrats, outside of maybe a guy like Rahm Emanuel, who's trying to talk common sense, still way out there on the fringes of most of these issues. So that's got to help Republicans.
Yep. Oh, yeah. I mean, look, big picture for the midterms, I think Republicans are still very, very heavily favored to hold the Senate, probably with a pretty decent majority like they have now. And the House, look, I think we saw 2018 where Democrats gained about 40 seats. You're not going to see that for a whole host of reasons. But a big part of that is that the Democratic Party has gone so far to the left. And also, if you look at some of the data from the New York Times reporting today, the registration numbers for the Democratic Party is at historic
way down, right?
Lows. I mean, people are leaving. The moderates are leaving the Democratic Party. They're becoming independent. Some of them are even becoming Republicans. And that means that the party is becoming more left-wing, more radical, and less appealing to the broader public. So the Democrats have a whole host of problems. If Mamdani gets elected in New York City, these New York swing seats are going to be hard for Democrats to win over because of the unique local issue that presents the Democratic Party. So look, I would say Democrats probably are favored to win the House, but will they get the kind of wave? Will they get the kind of big result that they experienced in other recent elections? Unlikely. I think it's more, we're talking more like 10, 15 seats than the bigger numbers that we've seen in recent elections.
Well, let's at least close here as we often do with baseball. 6-7 weeks ago, we had some hopes that the Cardinals were going to be able to compete in this division and in the wild card. I know that technically we're still alive. I think the fan base has kind of moved on to whatever might happen next season and beyond. But I got to tell you something, Josh. I don't know if you follow this at all, but our crowds here in St. Louis look like Cincinnati or maybe DC, and maybe not as bad as Pittsburgh, but they're not looking good. We usually draw 3 million. We're not going to get even close to that right now. And the fans are frustrated because we're not quite as far back as the Nationals are in your division. But, the expectations here in St. Louis to compete year after year after year, that's kind of gone by the wayside. And the fans are speaking with their wallets right now, not filling the seats at Busch Stadium.
Yeah, I mean, we're experiencing the same thing. And it's been a tough run for both of our franchises. Look, for DC, it's ownership, and a lot of it starts at the top. And the Cardinals do have, the farm system, I think, has not been quite as bountiful for the Cardinals. Who used to have like a real supply of good young talent, and that's kind of dried up.
And we traded them all away. All the young talent we had, we traded, like Randy Rosarena and others.
It's kind of remarkable. And the Cardinals were so good for so long. It's hard to imagine the Cardinals not making the playoffs. But look, I think it starts at the top. You got to have a general manager that can sign good players and bring talent into the organization. And it's been a little bit of a dry spell.
Yeah.
And just like in the National, we know this in Washington. It's been that way since 2020.
We got a little transition there because John Mozeliak is in his last year, and this Chaim Bloom guy is coming in to run the show. Josh KRAUSHAAR, always great to have you on. I hope your summer's going well. We'll talk again soon. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Mark.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Well, it was an incident westbound 44 causing a delay out by 109, but they moved it off to the shoulder. Still some volume just west of 141 tonight. Now, westbound 64, that's mainly moderate volume in pockets. Kings Highway out through 270, and then again out at Lake St. Louis Boulevard. Heavier traffic on southbound 270. And this is south of Page down through 40, and it's a little slow at Gravois. 55 southbound slowing at Bates. We've got volume eastbound 55-64 headed for the 70 split. And also on the Illinois side, eastbound 64 slowing just about 157 now to 159. This report brought to you by The Diamond Shop. The Diamond Shop, making St. Louis sparkle for over 100 years. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Well, I don't know if your home's going to sparkle, but it's going to look fantastic after the team at Banner Construction gets done with a project that you might be interested in. If you're looking for James Hardy fiber cement siding or Pella replacement windows, those are two of the biggest brands and the best brands in the entire industry. And Banner Construction is the right team here in St. Louis. They've been around since 1993 to install those products on your home. I always like to share a little bit of a story that I had when I was out to lunch with these guys from Banner a couple of years ago when they were talking about a project they had to come in and rescue on a Hardy siding deal where it wasn't them that was messing it up. It was a different company that a customer had trusted, and it didn't go very well. So Banner had to step in and fix that project. Don't make that mistake. Start with the best from the very beginning. If you want to make your home the best looking home in the neighborhood, you can do it with a free consultation from Banner Construction. A lot of people are deciding to stay in their homes longer and not sell. So this is a perfect opportunity to really upgrade, whether it comes to the siding and the benefits that the James Hardy siding has, not only in the aesthetics and the look of your home, but in the maintenance, the energy efficiency. Same thing with Pella replacement windows. And they're celebrating 100 years in business. Pella is this year. Banner Construction, they're there for you. It's a free in-home design consultation. 314-569-1050. The website, bannerconstruction.com.
When you're approaching retirement, there are a lot of questions to answer. Do you have enough money to fund your income for life? How should you claim Social Security? And what's your plan for health care and long-term care? Hi, I'm Eric Robert, Director of Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Don't leave your retirement to chance. It's crucial to understand and address relevant risks before you retire. Our team can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Sometimes an identity threat is a ring of professional hackers. And sometimes it's an overworked accountant who forgot to encrypt their connection while sending bank details.
I need a coffee.
And you need LifeLock because your info is in endless places. It only takes one mistake to expose you to identity theft. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
You're still glowing, flirting, grooving. You still got it. But your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and help strengthen your immune response. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Schedule in minutes at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
And at 3:38, this portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air.
Born in the Midwest, built on common sense. 97.1 FM Talk. St. Louis Conservative.
You know, Sue, we've had this mystery of the listener who sent us the blankets, of which I'm wearing my blue blanket right now because it's 66 degrees in the studio. He sent a couple of blue, a couple of pink. We didn't know who he was. Timothy Scott. Thank you, Timothy, for sending them.
Thank you so much.
He is a regular viewer on the stream, and Ethan noticed that he had chimed in on that. Now, mind you, I said if you had a little room on the Amazon account, I need some Windex refill and some Myers hand soap and stuff like that. That has not arrived, but if it's within your reach, Timothy, I would appreciate that because
no.
Oh, I'm
You're
kidding.
just being grateful.
I am. No, but he did great. Really, we use them more than maybe people would expect, right?
Yes.
I have mine draped over my shoulders right now. Brad Young is here with us. He's not in the studio, but through the magic of radio, he sounds like he is. He's a chief legal analyst here at 97.1 FM Talk and a partner with Harris Dowell Fisher and Young. Did a lot of fill-in for me over the past few weeks. Were you freezing your butt off in here? Could you use that blanket right now, Brad?
No, I didn't need it because I have my own insulation. It's called being fat.
Well, fair enough. I'm glad you didn't need it. Look, we have limited time here to talk about several different things, so let me get rolling on the Texas thing and redistricting. And obviously, I just covered this a little bit with Josh KRAUSHAAR and doing this outside of a 10-year cycle. Look, I spoke extensively with Nick Shore here, who is working on the project of a new map in Missouri. Governor Kehoe looks like he's going to call a session so they can address a couple of things, including the initiative petition, reform. But what is the legality of that, doing that outside of the 10-year cycle with the census? Because it seems to me that Texas, Greg Abbott, they think that this is buttoned up and they're doing this legally. That's my understanding. Do you agree with that?
I do agree with that. I don't think that there's going to be a prohibition against doing this in the middle of a census time. But listen, whether it's Texas or whether it's Missouri, all of this from the legal standpoint, Mark, is going to come down to one thing and one thing only, and that is this. Does the redistricting violate a traditional racial voting block to the extent that it would violate the Voting Rights Act, because it would be basically eliminating the vote power of a racial minority?
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at Missouri really only has two racial block districts, obviously Kansas City, obviously St. Louis City. And so if you redistrict that too much and eat into those districts, there's going to be a legal challenge. Well, there's going to be a legal challenge either way. But the legal challenge has a greater likelihood of being successful if it erodes too much into the minority voting block.
And then how would they determine that? Because my understanding in talking with Nick and some of the other folks involved in this is they wouldn't really touch this district here, the former Corey Bush, the current Wesley Bell district, as much as they would the one in Kansas City.
Correct. And so it really doesn't matter one way or the other whether they do one or both. But if they eat too much into Emmanuel Cleaver's district, and you have to be able to show that it's not being done racially. So, people are going to be looking at this, both for it and against it. And on the for side, they're going to be looking at it for how can we, gerrymander, because it's perfectly legal, despite what Gavin Newsom says. How do we gerrymander this to maybe make a change politically without impacting it racially? That's the challenge that lies ahead for the legislators.
Well, in California, you mentioned Gavin Newsom. They're going to do the same damn thing right now, which might make, Texas a bit of a wash.
Well, what's interesting to me is this, politically, not legally, but politically. You've got both Pritzker and Newsom who are saying gerrymandering is bad. Gerrymandering is bad. So what are we going to do? We're going to gerrymander more, even though we're in the two most gerrymandered states in the country. And politically, I think voters are going to realize that you're basically saying if something is bad, we're going to do it batter, okay, to use
Right.
bad English on purpose. That doesn't ring true politically.
So on that front, let me kind of shift gears to DC. And I just spoke with my friend Josh Kay about this a little bit too, and in what's going on. There was some great audio that I'll share this afternoon, maybe even a little bit later this hour when I let you go, of JD Vance and Stephen Smith and a couple other folks in DC really taking down the media because you had these white hippie protesters, and their case is, look, you got African Americans that are desperately in need of more law enforcement. I think the same could be said for St. Louis, but obviously anything that Trump does, people don't like, even though, behind the scenes, and we've heard this from Joe Scarborough and others, they've admitted, yeah, we kind of got a problem here. We got a crime problem here. So how long can this thing last legally? Because what he's doing there is also legal. I don't think there's any dispute about that, but there's a timetable on it.
There is. Under the District of Columbia Home Rule Act from 1973, the president essentially has 30 days unilateral to do whatever he wants. After 30 days, and this is maybe some contention in the Trump administration about this, but I think the law is very clear. After 30 days, you have to get congressional approval. And so he would have to go get that from Congress and for both the House and the Senate. But for 30 days, it's unfettered action under the District of Columbia Home Rule Act, 1973.
Hey, I spent some time on this, and I guess there's a little bit of breaking news about this afternoon. Did you dig into that report from the law firm on the tornado situation, the sirens not going up? Did you look at that yesterday? Do you have time?
I did. I did. It was from Carmody McDonald, I think, was the law firm that did that.
Right. And it was pretty detailed. So the breaking news this afternoon, and it was only a matter of time, Sarah Russell, who was the SCHMITT chief, the city emergency management chief for 4 years, has officially been fired. The Post-Dispatch story says no official reason was immediately given. Well, I can give you an official reason. She sucked at her job. Wow. I think we found that out. I mean, that report was highly critical. You don't often see, you're a lawyer, you can maybe clarify this or confirm this. You don't often see the word dither in a legal document, but that report accused her of dithering in the aftermath of the tornado and going up and, doing what they called the, how they refer to it. It was like a windshield operation, something that the cops normally do, assessing the damage. And she should have been back in the office. So there were a lot of things they didn't like. They didn't like the way that she answered some of the questions, didn't take responsibility. Kara Spencer did the right thing by putting her on suspension. She's been getting paid, though, for the past few months, but now she has been let go from the city, and appropriately so. I mean, it's not like they're just looking for a head either. It was someone that should have bore a lot of responsibility in all this.
Yeah, and I think the breaking news, not that she was fired, because I think that was a foregone conclusion, but I think the breaking news, if you look at that report, is that we were initially told that Sarah Russell was at this conference, which that's a whole nother issue, some global warming nonsense. But she was at this conference, and then she came back, and that was the delay. But in the report from Carmody McDonald, they indicated there was a 2-hour delay between the hitting of the tornado and her returning to the office. And you just mentioned she spent allegedly some windshield time, but that 2-hour delay was just unacceptable. And Kara Spencer made the right call.
One thing I would say, and I went over this yesterday, is that there was even a request from Sarah Russell at one point. She wanted the whole siren system taken down because they didn't think it was reliable. And there was money that was allocated, and I guess they're in the process of still redoing the whole thing. But it was a mess. There were people in the office, I think, that were confused about what the protocol was because it was never spelled out. But yeah, they are kind of underselling this whole conference thing in the Post-Dispatch coverage. They're not really mentioning that it was a woke conference that really didn't do anything to help them achieve their jobs anyway, which is a story in and of itself. But Sarah Russell no longer with the city of St. Louis. Brad, awesome to have you on. Thank you again for doing so much fill here the past few weeks, and also providing me with some legal assistance when I got pulled over in Webster Groves. I did tell that story last week, by the way. Thankfully,
my pleasure, Mark.
Yeah, you kept me out of the hooscow. We'll talk soon. Thank you, Brad Young. We'll see you.
Bye-bye.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We've got plenty of volume this afternoon downtown, and there was an accident reported on 44 really close to the Poplar Street Bridge. Traffic slow there in both directions. And since we're down there, the Illinois side, eastbound 55-64 jams, headed for the 70 split. Now back on the Missouri side, westbound 70, moderate volume Jennings Station Road. And again, out at Highway A, Northbound 170 slowing as you head for Natural Bridge, and southbound 270 slow pockets now. From Page down through 40, we've got northbound a little bit slow too at the Clayton Road overpass. Now out west, moderate volume through Chesterfield Valley on 64, and then on either side of Lake St. Louis Boulevard, it's a bit of a slow go. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
This report is sponsored by McKelvey Homes.
Hi, I'm Jim Brennan of McKelvey Homes. Have you always wished for a brand new home in an established neighborhood? Select one of our move-in ready custom homes throughout St. Louis, or we will build on your lot. Visit McKelveyhomes.com and move up to McKelvey.
If you need some help with a flooring project, I'm going to guide you into the team at Michael's Flooring Outlet here in St. Louis with a ton of experience. It was late last summer, early fall, when I called Mike Reynolds and said, look, we got a project that I think needs to be done in my home. We're going to take some carpeting out of 2 rooms, put hard flooring in. What do you got for me? What are my options? What's my budget? He, much of this we did on the phone, where he sent some samples over and said, here's what I'm thinking. Timbercore is a great brand, Timbercore Paramount. And he sent a few colors over on the pictures. And, we just kind of made some decisions that way. Sometimes you're never quite sure. I recommend getting samples, and you can get those from the store and bring them to your home. In this case, we simplified it. We did it with pictures. You can do that as well. It worked out tremendously. It worked fantastically. And they, really knocked it out of the park when it comes to service. And that's something they're very proud of at Michael's. So whether you're looking for some silky soft Mohawk carpeting with amazing stain and, odor resistance, the technology in the carpeting and in the hard flooring has come a long way. They can help you at one of the 3 great locations of Michael's Flooring Outlet here in St. Louis. They're open every day except for Sunday. Old Town St. Peter's, in Darden Prairie, and West County on Olive, actually. IGotFloor.com is the website.
97.1 FM Talk presents Talk in Action, where we shine a spotlight on local charities making a difference in our community. Join us as we give back and connect neighbors in need. Visit 971talk.com/talkinaction to learn more.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. If you've been injured in a car accident, call America's largest injury law firm. For over 35 years, my mission has been to deliver more for our clients, to deliver more for you. If you or anyone in your family has been injured in a car accident, call us now, as the time to file a claim may be limited. Last year, more clients hired Morgan & Morgan than ever before, protecting America, fighting for you. Morgan & Morgan. Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Hi, I'm Bob Kershaw with Retirement Advisory Group. Are you worried about market volatility? Are you concerned your money won't last you through retirement?
Hi, I'm Tammy Kershaw, and as a family-owned business, we are committed to protecting your retirement, whether you're nearing retirement or already retired. We have a lot of folks that aren't aware of all the new investment choices that are available, which give you growth and protection from losses at the same time. Are you aware of all the fees that you are currently paying? We can show you how to avoid those fees. So come in now for your free retirement review and get a second opinion on your retirement plan. And just for coming in, you'll get a copy of our latest edition book, Your Key to a Worry-Free Retirement. Let us show you how to retire with confidence.
We are proud to say we haven't lost a penny of our clients' money in 39 years, and we won't lose a penny of yours either. Let our family help your family. Call us now at 314-993-9494 or go online to retirementkey.com. That's retirementkey.com.
Reardon's back. Smarter talk for the show me state. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
So Wednesday afternoon, Alex Rich will visit with us in the next hour. Sue's News on a Wednesday edition. Tomorrow afternoon, George Gray from The Price is Right will be here doing The Price is Wrong, the fun that we have with him occasionally. And tomorrow will be one of those days. Senator Eric Schmidt, who has a new book out that I must be mentioned in, I'm guessing.
Well, I'm sure that's
maybe
true.
There's a whole chapter, but he'll visit with us after 5 o'clock this evening. I was mentioning these protests in D.C. This is what it sounded like at Union Station. They're not happy that there's actually federal, National Guard presence to make sure that crime is reduced in D.C. It was a great event with J.D. Vance, Pete Hegseth, and also Stephen Smith this morning. These protesters were kind of confronting them and trying to call them out, and they had great responses.
You hear these people outside screaming, "Free D.C." Let's free D.C. from lawlessness. Let's free Washington, D.C. from one of the highest murder rates in the entire world. Let's free Washington, D.C. so that young families can walk around and feel safe and secure. That's what we're trying to free D.C. from. And as Stephen said, it's kind of bizarre that we have a bunch of old, primarily white people who are out there protesting the policies that keep people safe when they've never felt danger in their entire life.
Yeah, so he's referring to Stephen Miller, who's quite a wordsmith. You don't want to tangle with Stephen Miller, and some of the hippies did that today.
For too long, 99% of this city has been terrorized by 1% of this city. And the voices that you hear out there, those crazy communists, they have no roots. They have no connections to the city. They have no families they're raising in this city. They have no one that they're sending to school in this city. They have no jobs in this city. They have no connections to this community at all. They're the ones who've been advocating for the 1%, the criminals, the killers, the rapists, the drug dealers. And I'm glad they're here today because me, Pete, and the vice president are all going to leave here, and inspired by them, we're going to add thousands more resources to this city to get the criminals and the gang members out of here. We're going to dismantle those networks, and we're going to prove that a city can serve for the law-abiding citizens who live there. We are not going to let the communists destroy a great American city, let alone the nation's capital.
It's not that complicated, really, and it is interesting. And unfortunately, Harry Enton has had to, break the news to the CNN audience that the polling on this is pretty clear. People do not like crime, and they want crime reduced. And I even mentioned this yesterday. Somebody said this either on Twitter. I saw it somewhere, Sue. For all the, the damage that we have in North City and North County from the tornado. And there's another story today in the local paper that talks about the cost of the cleanup has almost doubled. They're talking about almost $800,000. But remember when a cop gets involved and there is a shooting of any type by a white cop, well, BLM comes out and there's all these protesters. What about the people that live in these neighborhoods? Where's Black Lives Matters for those people? I think the answer is pretty obvious. But what's happening in Washington, D.C. is all these professional protesters are out like they typically are. Unfortunately. All right, we're going to take a break. I have some fun stuff for Alex Rich in the next hour. There's something that relates to parents and kids sports that caught my attention with Greg Olson being on Fox this morning, saying some things that really resonated with me. Alex is a former collegiate athlete. He probably will have something to say about that. Eric Schmidt coming up after 5 o'clock. He's got a book out called The Last Line of Defense, How to Beat the Left in Court. He will have reaction to the FBI. He tweeted about this morning. The FBI is adding agents here in St. Louis. We'll find out how they will be used, and I'm sure he'll have something to say about Andrew Bailey heading to D.C., becoming the co-deputy director of the FBI. Also, in the 5 o'clock hour, I saw a story last week in the Wall Street Journal about used car prices staying very high because of supply and demand. And my friend Alex Rosenberger of MasterCars Inc. is going to weigh in on that issue. We haven't touched base with him in a while. You had that period during the pandemic and after where supply was really, really tight and used car prices spiked. They leveled off, but I think they're kind of back into the higher territory again. But we'll have Alex cover that. Plus, of course, an audio cut of the day and more.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Well, on the roads, we do have some volume out there on southbound 270. It's mainly from Page down through 40, but then it slows again. And this is near Doherty Ferry down through Gravois, northbound slowing at the Clayton Road overpass. Now, we had an accident reported southbound on 170. Really close to or just north of the Forest Park Parkway. It's slow-moving traffic in both directions there. And then it stacks up northbound, headed for 70. Now, westbound 40, Kings Highway, out through McCausland. It's slowing at 270 and out west between Highway N and the 70 split. By the way, westbound 70, pretty slow at Highway A. Southbound 55, slowing down, especially at Bates. And there's a jam headed into Illinois coming off the Poplar Street Bridge. This report brought to you by Barron Mirror Glass and Door. Simply the finest when it comes to mirror glass and shower doors. You can't find better quality, prices, or service than at Barron Mirror Glass and Door. They have the basics all the way up to the elite. Barron Mirror Glass and Door can't be beat. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's Traffic 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Attention St. Louis Medicaid residents in need of care at home. If you need assistance with daily activities, you can receive in-home care from a loved one that lives with you and they get paid. Through Medicaid, Freedom Care allows you to choose who provides your care at home in St. Louis, and they get paid weekly. Available to eligible Medicaid members in St. Louis. Call now to check your eligibility. It can be your daughter, son, a close relative, or trusted friend helping you with cooking, transportation, laundry, and other activities in your own home. You get the help you need, and your caregiver gets paid. Freedom Care has over 7,000 five-star Google reviews and is a leading choice in St. Louis for in-home care. If you have Medicaid and want to receive great care from a loved one, go to freedomcare.com, or for faster service, call 314-597-1749. 314-597-1749. That's 314-597-1749.
Freedom Care, we're here for you.
Calling all future sportscasters. Sharpen your skills and learn from the best of the Missouri Broadcasters Association Sportscasters Forum, Tuesday, September 16th in St. Louis. Join Cardinals beat reporters, broadcasters, and the legendary John Rooney, the voice of the Cardinals, for insider sessions on play-by-play, interviewing, reporting, and more. Then cap the day with a Cards-Reds game at Busch Stadium. Open to college students and broadcasting pros. Just $10 for students, lunch, and a game ticket. Space is limited. Register by September 2nd at MissouriBroadcasters.org.
Men, need a clinic that accepts all insurance, including Medicare? U.S. Men's Medical Center in St. Peters does. U.S. Men's helps men experiencing loss of energy, focus, concentration, and low libido. And they accept all insurance, even Medicare, for testosterone replacement therapy. Patients love the staff and the fact that, yes, I'm going to say it again, they accept all insurance, including Medicare. Feel better? Call U.S. Men's Medical Center at 636-244-5333.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-500-5000.
That's 314-500-5000.
All on the free Odyssey app.
A long day at the Texas Capitol. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News, as the State House debates redistricting for a vote on new congressional maps that was delayed by the recent walkout by state Democrats. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton tells Fox he plans a court fight to vacate those seats.
Our argument is very simple. They abandoned their office. These are 13 legislators that came out publicly and said, we're not coming in. We're not going to be doing our job right now. We're out of the state. And so they made it very public.
Those legislators are now back and planning their own lawsuits, arguing the new maps violate the Voting Rights Act. The redistricting is aimed at helping Republicans win more seats in Congress, prompting California to launch a counter effort for Democrats. A migrant trucker charged in a deadly Florida crash will be sent back to Florida from California. Governor Ron DeSantis sending his lieutenant governor there.
And tomorrow morning, he is going to take possession of this illegal alien, extradite him back to the state of Florida, and we're going to throw the book at him when he gets back here.
The big rig driver, Harjinder Singh, is accused of attempting an illegal U-turn just before a minivan hit the 18-wheeler, killing 3 people.
The U.S. DOT says when its crash investigators tested Singh's English proficiency, the driver failed the assessment, providing correct responses to just 2 of 12 verbal questions and only accurately identifying 1 of 4 highway traffic signs.
Fox's Jonathan Seri, the DOT, investigating Singh's commercial licenses issued in California and Washington state. The director of national intelligence just announcing what she calls a long overdue transformation of the office created to improve intelligence sharing after the 9/11 attacks. Director Tulsi Gabbard says it's become bloated and inefficient and that the intelligence community is rife with abuse of power. She plans to reduce the workforce and cut the budget. America is listening to Fox News.
Did you know you can get your prescriptions for less at your local pharmacy? You can with GoodRx. It's the free app that can save you money on your medications. Just search for your prescription, choose the pharmacy and the price that works best for you, and then show your GoodRx coupon to your pharmacist at the drop-off counter. GoodRx works at over 70,000 pharmacies, including Walmart, Rite Aid, and Walgreens, and it works whether you have insurance or not. It's easy to save. Next time you drop off your prescription, check GoodRx. To start saving today, go to GoodRx.com. GoodRx is not insurance.
You're still glowing, flirting, grooving. You still got it. But your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and help strengthen your immune response. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Schedule in minutes at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation, weather.
For August in St. Louis, it's feeling pretty good as the humidity starts to drop off and the temperatures are cooler. Partly to mostly sunny, 87 should do it today. Tonight, clear skies, a quick drop through the 80s for evening plans. Nice overnight, 68. Thursday, sunny and 87. Friday, sunny and 89. Same thing Saturday. Sunday, sunny, fantastic, 83. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist, Dave Murray.
Your biggest choice in home restoration is, who do you trust with your home, your most valued asset? Few can match Banner Construction's experience and dedication to excellence. Banner is an elite preferred James Hardy contractor and Pella Window specialist. Restoration is a one-time opportunity to have Banner's design team show you architectural options to make your home the neighborhood showcase. Call for a free consultation, 314-569-1050. Now hiring qualified carpenters.
Don't get lulled into believing the IRS is getting soft. It's just the opposite. Hi, this is Lance Story with the Lance Story Law Firm. We are being told by IRS collection officers that their higher-ups are demanding that they get more aggressive than ever. So don't ignore them any longer. Level up. If you have unfiled returns, unpaid taxes, levies, or liens, call the Lance Story Law Firm today and let us get between you and the IRS. We'll protect your rights, including your right to appeal or even your right to take the IRS to tax court. Remember, IRS problems are legal problems, and they need to be handled by an expert attorney team who's done it for decades. So call the Lance Story Law Firm today. We're local. Our office is right here in St. Louis, or visit Lance, D-R-U-R-Y, law.com to schedule your free consultation with your local tax resolution law firm, the Lance Story Law Firm, 314-260-6120.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
Protect your liver and give it the support it deserves by making Active Liver from New Nordic part of your daily wellness routine. Find Active Liver in stores at your local CVS, Meijer Grocery, or online at Amazon or at newnordicusa.com.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
And it's a Wednesday afternoon. We visit with our friend Alex Rich, and he's here in the studio with Fred and Sue, and Ethan will join us for Sue's News in a few minutes as well. How are you, Alex?
Doing well. You guys doing all right?
Yeah, I think we're doing okay.
Good.
It's a little cool out there today.
Everybody looks well. It's cool outside today, yeah. Cooler than it has been.
I think fair. We have turned the corner just a little bit.
It's interesting when we could say it's cool outside. And I think it's like 89 degrees.
Yeah. But there's a difference between 89 and the feels like yesterday, I think, was like 106. You can just feel the dew point difference, if you will. We're in a trend where I think I looked at the temperatures next week and we're in the upper 70s.
You can
That's a good
definitely
number.
tell. I went to lunch today. The patios were popping off.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
I bet.
I mean, it's still warm, like we said, but it's nice comparatively when you're sitting outside and you're like, we haven't been able. I just made this comment. I feel like I haven't been able to utilize my backyard this year. This summer.
Agreed. Totally agree.
A little bit because of the heat, a little bit because it seems maybe the mosquitoes have been worse. I think just the mugginess of being outside.
Yeah, I don't like the mugginess.
It's really a lot.
And my grass doesn't look as great as it has been, but that's on me.
You know how much I love, because you've been over to my place, my fire pit, because essentially I'm, like a little firebug. But I haven't been able to do, I don't do that during the summer, but you get into the 60s, like Sue was talking about at night, September. My firewood guy keeps checking with me. I'm like, no, dude, I have like plenty. But once it starts to cool off, I love to be out there in the backyard.
I'm with you.
Typically, Fred, I listen to the Cardinals games. Like I'll have it on TV and I'll have it on the speakers outside. And I will be honest with you, at this point in the season, I'm kind of pushing toward football and I'm losing my interest in baseball just because it was there 5 or 6 weeks ago when the Cardinals were still competitive. And I'm not trying to give up on them completely, but let's face it, it's hard to get all revved up for a team that's not going to make the playoffs and is going to finish probably under 500 at this point. Are you still sticking with them?
2 in a row. 2 in a row.
We won 2 in a row. You're right, against the Marlins, so that's not a bad thing. On the topic of the Heat, going back to that, they're painting the wall black. Kristi Noem was announcing this. This apparently was a suggestion. This is the border wall, but a suggestion from the president, because the black, instead of, what would you call it, like a rust colored, if you will.
Oh, that'll absorb heat. That'll be,
well, that's why they're doing it, right?
We are going to be painting the entire southern border wall black to make sure that we encourage individuals to not come into our country illegally, to not break our federal laws, but that they will abide and come to our country the right way so that they can stay and have the opportunity to become United States citizens and pursue the American dream.
You know, and I mentioned last week they had a great ceremony. There were nearly 800 people at Wrigley Field that became U.S. citizens. I mention this all the time. They do it at Busch Stadium. Everyone cheers them on. You know, this notion that everyone on our side of the political table is against immigration is just a bunch of nonsense. When people come in, they do it the right way. They go through the process. Hank Lena, our friend that Sue introduced us to, absolutely did that. And we were so proud of that. And he's proud to be an American. So there's a big difference between what happened at Wrigley Field and what's happening down on that southern border. Alex, you look like the type of guy who would have shopped maybe at one point at Bed Bath & Beyond. Have you ever done that?
Yeah, I have. Are we going to talk about the coupon they're bringing back? Is that what we're doing?
I don't know anything about the coupon. Here's what I know. The guy that runs it had an interesting statement that he released on Twitter yesterday. Now, I'm a little confused because my sense is that those stores, they went into bankruptcy, and I think a lot of the stores from around here, Sue, do you know this, have closed down.
Bed Bath & Beyond?
Yes, they have. But they're coming back, right? Didn't they
Right. Weren't they
reorganize?
only online, but now they're coming back?
Well, so this is what this is. This is Marcus Lemonis. He's the executive chairman of Bed Bath & Beyond, and this kind of created a little bit of a stir across the country. It targeted California. He says, we will not open or operate retail stores in California. This decision is not about politics.
Oh.
It's about reality. California has created one of the most overregulated, expensive, and risky environments for business in America. It's a system that makes it harder to employ people, harder to keep doors open, and harder to deliver value to customers. The result, higher taxes, higher fees, higher wages that many businesses simply cannot sustain, and endless regulations that strangle growth. Even when the state announces a budget surplus, it's built on the backs of ordinary citizens who are paying too much and businesses who are squeezed until they break. At Bed Bath & Beyond, our responsibility is to our customer and our shareholders. We will not participate in a system that undermines both. Instead, we're investing in a California strategy that works 24 to 48-hour delivery, and in many cases, same-day service. Californians will continue to get the products that they love through bedbathandbeyond.com, but without the inflated costs created by an unsustainable model. And then he goes on to say, we're taking a stand because it's time for common sense business to deserve the chance to succeed. Employees deserve jobs that last, and customers deserve fair prices. California's system delivers the opposite. That's why Bed Bath & Beyond will serve California customers directly through bedbathandbeyond.com on our terms and with their best interests in heart. It's always interesting after something like that to kind of look at the responses on the
Oh,
X.
I bet.
And, you know, there's not a lot of, well, there's some positivity, but, you know, somebody chimes in and says, what a fancy backhanded way to say that being an online retailer is a better business than being a brick and mortar retailer. Now, this guy, Marcus Lemonis, he engaged a little bit with people that were responding on Twitter. And to that guy, he says, we will have stores in almost every other state. And
wow,
somebody, let's see here, because he responded to somebody else. And, you know, it was pretty interesting, but most of the reaction was not, you know, critical of California. Some of them were.
When do you think's the last time you've been in a Bed Bath & Beyond?
I used to go there, and I think the one that I used to go to was maybe over by
off of Manchester there.
No, the one over by Brentwood. Didn't they have one in Brentwood?
Yeah,
Plaza?
they totally did.
Yeah.
You go in there, you never really could figure out what. I mean, Bed Bath & Beyond, they got so much going on, and I mean, there's
the bed part.
They really lean in on
part.
the beyond.
Yeah, the
part.
beyond. There's a lot of beyond, right?
Because you walk in there and they just have stuff all the way from the ground all the way up to the ceiling at Bed Bath & Beyond.
Well,
and it's just like there's no rhyme or reason.
I'm the shopper in the family, so I've been there plenty and have picked up things for the house. But let's just face it. I mean, the reality is, kind of going back to the person's comment about the post, is most people are doing things like if I need something that I typically probably would have needed at Bed Bath & Beyond, I can either go to Target or online to Amazon and find it that way.
Well, you look at like our wedding registry type thing, because I really didn't intend, I did not lean into this sentence. Now I got an idea, because I wasn't going to call you out, but it is a week later and you said you'd have a gift to us
Yeah,
by
I
now.
still don't have a
So
gift,
I didn't mean to go into that, but you're so right though. The online stuff, it's like I feel like people used to have maybe Bed Bath & Beyond stuff on their registry,
Yeah.
but like it's the same thing. We're not going to go to the Pottery Barn and get the towels. You're just going to get them delivered to you online. Why
That's
do you
right.
need to
That's
go into
true.
the Bed Bath & Beyond?
So truth be told, this is a true story. I looked because you said people were doing this and it was tacky and I didn't have a card. So I looked at my Venmo and I'm like, I'm just going to Venmo Alex money, but I couldn't find your ID. I almost sent it to a different Alex Rich. So for whatever reason,
Really?
I don't think I've shared money with you on Venmo. If you send me my address, your address.
You want me to send it to you now?
Yeah, absolutely. If you want a gift, because I'm
I'll
too
share
lazy
you
to go
my
buy
Venmo.
a card. I have some supplemental items for the gift. And you can use your imagination on that.
Sure.
But I don't need you coming in here because I thought about it this morning. Like, damn it, Alex is coming in here. The time
didn't
goes by
mean
so
to.
quickly.
I really didn't even. I wasn't trying to bring it up, but it happens.
But I did think about it this morning. So give me your damn Venmo, and then you'll be off my back. All right.
I sent it.
There you go. We're coming back with Sue's News.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
On the roads, we've got an accident on southbound 170 at the Forest Park Parkway. And this thing has been blocking the left lane. If you are traveling in that area, that's the cause of the delay. And at one point, it looks like it's pretty slow back through at least Olive. Now, there's also a jam headed into Illinois coming off the Poplar Street Bridge. We also, on the Missouri side, have westbound 40 lining up Kings Highway out through McCausland. Southbound 270 slowing, especially Olive, down through Ladue Road, but a slow pocket or two south of there. And now we have a real jam going on westbound 70, approaching Lake St. Louis Boulevard out past Highway A. Yep, and then it gets better. This report is brought to you by Infinite Vitality. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Ready for real weight loss? Infinite Vitality helps you lose 8+ pounds a month with peptides like tirzepatide. Track fat loss with 3D imaging. 2 months for just $400. Mention Annie for a $50 credit. Infinite-vitality.com.
I'll tell you what, if you do not have a written financial retirement plan in place, you are behind, because suddenly you wake up and retirement is getting closer and closer. And we, as the average person, do not know how to work the system to our advantage. How do you know how the tax code works in retirement? How do you know how much you have to save because of whatever your income will be in retirement? Oh, all of that makes me crazy. The thing I like is to understand how things work. And that's why I like financial and tax architects. They're just the best. Their idea is the same. Okay, we're going to teach you a few of the things about how this retirement works. Here's how to make the most out of your money. Here's when to take Social Security. And they'll sit down and educate you, but also tailor a plan to what you've got and what your goals are and your values are. And you will feel better about the whole thing. So give them a call, go to a class. 314-888-5101, 314-888-5101.
Let's just face it, right? Your home should work for you, not against you. Hi, it's Kim. And if you've been dreaming of a new kitchen, bathroom, or a finished basement, now's the time to call Lakeside Renovation and Design. They're St. Louis's trusted experts in turning houses into dream homes. Just imagine this, a spa-like bathroom, maybe a chef-inspired kitchen, or how about a cozy basement perfect for some movie nights? Their team handles everything from design to installation, so you can just sit back and enjoy the process. Visit lakesideRD.com today to start your dream renovation.
Have you been notified that your subsidy for Obamacare health insurance is going away? Well, you can leave now while you're still healthy and qualify for much better individual plans. Greg Hammonds at GregHammonds.com has been helping people get affordable health insurance with great coverage for over 35 years. Greg offers private health insurance plans that are not on the ACA marketplace. You can pick your doctors. For most claims, you won't even pay a deductible, and they're 30 to 60% lower cost than Obamacare. One more thing, there's no tax penalty at the end of the year. Greg even has plans that are guaranteed acceptance. If you pay for your own health insurance, you're uninsured, you're on COBRA, or your employer coverage is just too expensive, call Greg at 314-794-7784. That's 314-794-7784. Or go to GregHammonds.com. That's GregHammonds.com. He can custom design a plan by you, not the government.
Brotherhood of Rock.
Welcome to Now they celebrate 25 years. Sticks. Kevin Cronin, former lead singer of REO Speedwagon. Special guest Don Felder, formerly of the Eagles. This Friday night, Hollywood Casino Amphitheater. Tickets on sale now at livenation.com. Sticks. Kevin Cronin, Don Felder, Brotherhood of Rock.
Do you have a dark curiosity? Heart Starts Pounding, Horrors, Hauntings, and Mysteries is a weekly podcast hosted by me, Kaylin Moore. Each week, I'll take you on a dark journey through terrifying true urban legends, bizarre true crime cases, chilling tales of backwoods horror, and more. So if you're looking to join a passionate community of the darkly curious, check out Heart Starts Pounding on the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts. And remember, stay curious.
He's not here to play nice. He's here to make you think. Mark Reardon on 97.1 FM Talk.
United States Senator Eric Schmidt coming up after 5 o'clock. He's got a new book out that's called The Last Line of Defense, How to Beat the Left in Court. He has some experience with that. We'll talk about a couple other things as well. That's at 5:04. Audio cut of the day at 5:48. Alex Rosenberger from Mastercars Inc. We'll talk about some used car prices and how they have held pretty high here this summer because of the way that the market is working. But right now, let's do this on a Wednesday afternoon.
These allegations are deeply concerning.
Does the president have any comment?
We're not going to comment. It's not clear messaging. No.
And now, Sue's News. Brought to you by Sue.
I'll tell you what, I am not well rested today, and I'm going to tell you partially why. Last night, you got to take the Bulldogs to the new house, Alex.
Oh, yeah.
They don't care for change.
No, they don't.
They do not care for
They
it.
don't care for anything really that's not their idea.
And it was later, so we thought, all right, we'll go. We bring everything and the dog beds, and we get them to the house. And it's about 78 degrees in there because, we haven't been there. It's cranked up
warm,
a bit.
Right.
Well, it doesn't. All they're doing is panting because they're so worked up that they just walk through the house panting, and dropping in just water everywhere. I just mean just sweat.
Yeah.
So
drool.
the whole
Bulldog
time.
drool. Is that
And
what
we
you're saying?
still have, it's a heat warning. Finally, I'm like, we can't pant all night. So we're going to have to put them in the car and take them back. And then I've taken most of the stuff out. Nobody had a toothbrush. We had some smart mouth. It was that kind of night. And then I had to get up because I'd transferred my broadcast stuff for the morning to the new house and drive in the 4 o'clock hour to get there. And I'm thinking, please let it be in the 70s when I get there. Because one of the dogs came out. She's like, what are we doing? Are we getting in the car? So I thought, well, sure.
So it was just too hot for them to be in the house.
It was just too hot. And it takes a minute for the temperature to drop.
Well,
and,
right.
I just
They
didn't
give
do
you
it.
that. Do yours give you that glimmer of hope where you just like you say one of their names and then they look at you and they stop panting for a second
Yes.
and you're like,
okay.
And then then about 4.5 seconds later they're back panting.
But you slept in the new house.
No.
Oh, you didn't either.
No. By the
Okay.
time we got back to the old house, I'm like, this
What
is
did
it.
you still have a bed to sleep on?
Yeah, still a
Okay,
bed because
all
I'm
right.
staging my house.
I
as
got
you.
you.
Know.
Okay,
and this
there
is
you go.
mainly because the dogs weren't okay with it.
Correct.
Yeah.
And just because but if you go past you say their name and they stop panting phase, that's where we were.
Mm-hmm. I get it.
It's not good.
I get it.
And then around about 4 a.m, Sue's like, why didn't I take 2 days off to move, right? Why
that
just
did
one?
Occur. I will say that. Okay, it is National Bacon Lovers Day. Ooh. National Radio Day and National Chocolate Pecan Pie Day. Now, I don't like a straight pecan pie, but chocolate ones are I prefer if I were eating chocolate.
What are you supposed to do for National Radio Day? People do this, like all these radio friends I have do something on either Twitter or Facebook.
I'm with
what
you.
What are you supposed to do? I don't know. Is there an
I
official
thought
thing?
about posting like a little picture or something. Then I backtracked on it because I was like, you know what? I don't know.
Happy National Radio Day. It's the only thing I've ever done in my entire life. Thank God it still exists, at least for a couple more years. That's what I would say because
I totally agree
I'm
with that.
45 years in
All right, so,
this year.
So let's just say, where was the first station you worked?
First station was this little YMCA station on, Clayton Road by Parkway West, which doesn't exist. It was owned by the YMCA, KYMC. It was a big stick, Fred, as we say. It was 10 watts. You could barely get it out of the parking lot. And then I went to KSIV, which is here in St. Louis. And then my next station was the student station KCOU in Columbia, then a Stevens College station. Then my first rock gig at KFMZ. Sue, what was your first station?
Wait, a college, they had the college station, but my first one was down in Georgia, in Tifton, Georgia. And I don't think I even remember the call letters anymore. K something. W something.
Fred, how about you? Was it KBIA?
No, it was the campus radio station, KCUR.
KCUR?
Yeah.
What
it
was
was
that?
in the Pershing Group basement. It was very small.
Well,
as
that's different than KCOU, right? That was.
I'm sorry. It's KCOU.
Yeah, KCOU. That was the student station,
K-Cal.
right? Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
that was it.
Aw. And that leaves Alex.
I
but
never
you
really had a
one.
first, I guess. I did an
It was
intern.
KMOX, right?
I think it was, honestly, because I think I did an internship in college for KMOX. And I really wasn't going into like the radio business. It was like I was like an events intern, basically.
Yeah.
And I think probably Tom Ackerman or somebody had me on the air for like to ask me some questions about, I was the college kid in the office. So I guess I could say that my first station was KMOX.
That's pretty good.
So I was devastated when my dad told us we were moving to St. Louis. This was in 1979. The high school that I was attending, Maney's High School in Park Ridge, Illinois, they had a radio station. I was already pointed at working at that station. And I thought, oh my gosh, what's going to happen to my dreams? Because I really, when I was 12, 13 years old, this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a disc jockey, which is how it all started. But lo and behold, it was kind of, destiny, I guess. Destiny and living in poverty for the rest of my life that I worked at that station.
How long have you been in this building?
We've been here
including
for
like KMOX. Like when did you start?
I came back in 2006 from Milwaukee, so it's almost 20 years.
I'm
Next year, 20 years
though about this. I really did. I do remember because my dad always had KMOX on in the car. I do really truly remember hearing Mark Reardon and thinking this guy, this guy's kind of
pretty
funny.
Cool. Yeah,
and seriously,
good instincts.
And now look where I'm at.
Yeah, look at
I
that.
got to put up with him.
Yeah, that's basically
I wanted
where
to
we're
meet
at.
him, and now I got to put up with him.
And accept his gift of money.
Yeah, well,
I haven't
Fred,
sent it yet, Fred.
I haven't gotten any notifications here yet, so.
Oh Lord!
Thanks for bringing it back.
I might leave a zero.
Talk
off,
to
too.
me, and
you never know.
Let's try the last break and see if we get it by then.
On this day in history, 48 years ago, it's 1977, and the United States has launched Voyager 2. Now, this is an unmanned spacecraft carrying a 12-inch gold-plated phonograph record that scientists hoped aliens would find and play to learn about Earth. Now, the record has greetings in 55 languages, nature sounds, and samples of music. There was a little Mozart, a little Beethoven, and this song as well.
Do I have it?
You
I
got
don't,
it.
Are you
Do
sure
ya?
that I have it? Because
Oh,
I
no,
never
Matt.
saw Ethan come back in here.
Oh, it's Matt's got it, but he didn't bring it in.
Okay, sorry about
Did
that.
you hear that great intro,
I
Fred?
texted Ethan. Where is he?
I thought it
I
was-
actually
Ring the
asked
bell.
Ethan for two things. I said, "Can you bring me my phone and can you bring me Sue's audio?" And
Okay.
I think he left us.
Well, it's not Matt pulled it, but I guess
It's
we
National
never
Radio
did.
Day. He's celebrating.
That's true. All right, Tim Allen is bringing some of his old home improvement co-stars to his new series called Shifting Gears. Patricia Richardson, Richard Karn, and Debbie Dunning will guest star. Apparently, this thing comes to ABC October 1st, but then it will be on Hulu like immediately the next day. And Richardson's wife, Richardson played Tim's wife on Home Improvement.
Crowd
Sorry
didn't
about
like
that
it, yeah.
crowd.
Mm.
And Karn was the guy over the fence.
Yeah.
So we'll see if that hurts.
I
Now,
thought they started that show last year.
oh, well,
Didn't they?
I don't know.
It wasn't
coming
that great.
back
I love
October
Tim Allen,
1st.
but
I do too.
I didn't like it.
And he's such a car guy. Was it too car-y? Because I don't know if that's
I don't know.
possible.
I just
Why
think it
didn't
was
you like
funny,
it?
you know.
Oh.
And I liked Last Man Standing is one of my favorite shows where he plays kind of the
Yeah.
grumpy conservative out in Denver. That was a good show for many years.
Huh, that's a shame. All right, have you guys heard of 1587 Prime? Do you know what that is?
Is that a restaurant? Oh,
It-
I know what it is. It's
that-
Mahomes Kelsey Restaurant.
Oh, look at that!
Yeah,
nice.
you use your head, put the math together.
That's
Mhm.
exactly
It adds
right.
up.
It's the name of the steakhouse that Mahomes and Kelsey are opening in Kansas City on September 17th, which happens to be Mahomes' 30th birthday. And of course, the name is a combo of their jersey numbers. Reservations open today. So I went online to see if I could get one, and I think the site had blown up.
I
don't
bet it
know if
had.
it's still,
Makes
you know what
sense.
I mean? Because if you're a Super Bowl winners and you're not that far from us and we've got nothing, I can see how people would go up there.
You also figure maybe Taylor Swift will be in there.
Well, you never know.
Eating dinner
that's
every
a
once
good
in a while,
point.
right?
Yeah.
I keep meaning to press go on the podcast with her and Travis.
It's a good one.
I know. I wanted you said it was good last week.
Yeah. It's a good conversation. Whether you like Taylor Swift or not, I think it's a good conversation.
Okay, that's a good description. In my nice news story of the day, CBS News did a story about a school near Pittsburgh. 70% of the students are low income, but the music program is thriving. And the superintendent knew most families couldn't afford to rent instruments, so she started 3D printing violins.
Really?
Isn't that an interesting idea? I just thought that was awesome. They're plastic, but they sound decent. And they're plenty good enough for kids, she said.
Yeah,
and
well,
it's
that's
really
good.
taken off.
Look at that.
And there's a little bit of audio for it, but I didn't put that up there. So don't
I don't have
panic.
that either.
And finally,
I'm a little worried that
that's
has
my
Ethan
fault.
left the building? I'm
I
not
think
sure where he
I
is
think
right
he's
now.
gone.
And finally, it's Susan News.
I think I saw him walking
I
outside the
think
window.
he did. Hey, it wouldn't be the first time. Wouldn't be the
He
first
was on
time
the
a
park
producer
out there.
producer left this show, Fred, would it? No, I think it's happened before.
We have today's random fact. Instead of once upon a time, Korean fairy tales usually start with, in the old days when tigers used to smoke. What? I read that and I thought,
I like
what?
that.
I don't even know what
That's
that
a
means.
little different. Hang
All
in
right.
there. We're coming back after Fox Business.
I'm Chad Robinson with Your Money Now. President Donald Trump is slamming an appeals court decision to temporarily block a land transfer request from mining giants Rio Tinto and BHP to help develop one of the country's largest copper mines. In a True Social post, Trump says the move impacts thousands of jobs. Shares in Chinese toy maker Pop Mart closing more than 12.5% higher today, one day after the company posted a near 400% surge in net profit, driven by booming global demand for its Labubu dolls. Claire's announcing today that it's selling most of its North American business to private equity firm Ames Watson after just weeks after declaring bankruptcy. Meanwhile, on Wall Street today, stocks were mixed, with the Dow up 16, the S&P off by 16, and the Nasdaq falling more than 140. Crude oil futures for September were up 1%, above 63 a barrel. That's Your Money Now.
You're still glowing, flirting, grooving. You still got it. But your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and help strengthen your immune response. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Schedule in minutes at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Peer opportunity is what Michigan is all about. The opportunity to do more. The opportunity to connect with the best talent. The opportunity for people of all backgrounds to grow and expand their business. The opportunity to live and work in a state where paychecks go further. The opportunity is now and is right here in Michigan. Visit michiganbusiness.org to discover all the ways the Michigan Economic Development Corporation can help your business thrive.
Hey, we're going to have Alex Rosenberger, my friend from MasterCarsInc.com, on in an hour, and he's going to kind of walk you through the used car market because prices are pretty high for used cars. But Alex and Gary Rosenberger, Alex is the son, Gary is his father. They have an amazing business in Granite City, Master Cars Inc. I've known them for more than a decade. I've done a lot of business with them, not only buying cars, but trading cars and selling them. A beautiful Jeep Wrangler that they took off our hands. We really didn't want to part with it, but my kids had gone off to Mizzou. We weren't using it very much, and it was still worth a lot. So if you have a vehicle that's in great shape, they'd love to buy it from you, or you can trade it for a truck, for a motorcycle, for a Corvette, for an everyday car. They have everything on their lot right now, from a really fancy Cadillac Escalade to an Indian Chieftain motorcycle, lots of Harleys, lots of Corvettes because they're the Corvette Kings, and they can source you a vehicle. What that means is just tell them what you're looking for in particular. Can you find it? Where is it? Maybe it's up in Chicago or, down in Arkansas or wherever it is, and they'll ship it here to St. Louis and then put you in that vehicle. They can get you financed and take great care of you. It's a very simplified buying process. Master Cars Inc. They're in Granite City. Check them out today. Tell them that I sent you over, mastercarsinc.com.
If you're considering an annuity as part of your retirement plan,
we need to talk. Hi, I'm Bob Stockdale, Senior Vice President Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Annuities can be a useful tool for some retirement investors, but not all annuities are created equal. Every week, we meet clients who own complex annuities that don't suit their needs and, in some cases, actively undermine their retirement plan. Before you purchase an annuity, get a second opinion from the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. Requesting a consultation is free of charge. To request a free consultation, contact us at clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member NYSE and SIPC.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
4:33. This portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air.
From the gateway to the airwaves. 97.1 FM Talk. St. Louis Conservative.
All right, back on a Wednesday afternoon. We just had Sue's News. She'll do it again tomorrow. Alex Rich is hanging with us. Fred, the Hall of Famer, as well. We did track down Ethan Hannaford, our producer. We're not exactly sure where he was, but he's back with us now. And he didn't get Sue's audio in because that's irrelevant, but he did get my phone. He was able to retrieve my phone for me, which is a very important role that a producer has. So, I mentioned I'm thrilled that school is back in session because that affords mom and dad a lot more time to be sane. My daughter started again on Monday, but she has sports. She's got volleyball and soccer right now. And I heard Greg Olson, who is a former NFL player, he was on Fox this morning talking about something that was very relatable. Now, let me ask the question. Sue, when you were young, like even younger than 10, did you start playing sports when you were a kid?
Yes, I think so. Wait, not younger than 10. I'm not sure I did more than the playground in the neighborhood.
Okay, but what was what did you finally end up doing sports wise? Did you do anything?
I liked tennis and I liked softball.
Okay, so I was playing flag football, baseball when I was a kid, and then I did play 1 year of high school football. That was mainly to try to pick up girls. It failed miserably,
my goodness.
And I wasn't very good. And
That sounds like the
stopped.
intro to a joke.
Yeah, right.
You
And then
know?
I started playing racquetball, but I wasn't, this is a different era. Now parents do things a little differently. Fred, I don't know about you with organized sports. You've always declared how athletic you are, so you had to have a lot of
That's true.
Training when you were younger, right?
I did every sport in grade school.
You
every
really
sport
did?
that was offered.
Did you like a particular sport? Did you like playing a sport and then kind of continued with it?
Oh no, I liked softball turning into baseball.
Okay. Well, there you go.
much so, yeah.
So what happens now is, and this is what we've discovered, and I think some of this is supply and demand related with parents and volunteers. You don't have enough coaches out there, which gets difficult. But my daughter, who started swimming, remember, Alex, we talked about that. She was pretty good at it, I thought, but she really backed off. She didn't like it because it was more of an individual thing and she didn't have any friends. So we're like, okay. But by the time she started to try to play soccer or volleyball, a lot of the kids who were her age had gotten better, right? So then you're kind of playing catch up. Now she's at the point where she's on a volleyball team where kids are in the opposite direction. She's got a friend on this team. They're actually probably two of the better kids, but then there's kids that are really, really beginners. So it gets frustrating, but this was relatable when I heard Greg Olson talking about this, because a lot of parents, I think what they do is they say, okay, here's your lane, right? You pick your lane. When you're 3 years old or when you're 4 years old, soccer is your lane. We're going to keep doing that. And we do it and we do it. Whatever that lane is, if it's softball or baseball, that's tends to be, I think, what parents do because of the dynamic that I just referred to. If you do too many things, you might not be able to catch up and do that. But listen to what he said here.
The bottom line of what's really going on is we have just sped up the developmental process. Instead of this being a long-term developmental process in America where kids are trying to peak, say, in high school for the opportunity to go play in college, we're making these kids have to rush the development cycles all the way up till middle school, sometimes even elementary school. And we just don't get the wide berth of access. We don't get the wide berth of experiences. In the long run, we're making better young athletes. But what people are starting to ask now is, are we making better athletes in the long term? And I think that's where a lot of the issues rise.
I think he's absolutely right about that. And I don't know really what you can do about it. Now, Tom Brady kind of weighed in a little bit on this last week as well.
We as parents should embrace the struggles of our children just like they are. What we really need to do is allow them to overcome their struggles. and support them. But we're trying to make champions in life. We're not trying to make champions, and they can be champions in sports. It's great. And if they make their pro career, it's a long shot. And I would never discourage anyone from trying to approach that because it's amazing. But if they don't make it, that's perfect anyway.
So I'm the kind of parent where I don't really care what my daughter plays or what sport she picks. I just want her to have a passion for it and love it and enjoy it. Like when I was playing Little League when I was a kid, I loved baseball so much. I looked forward to it. I loved competing. I was a pitcher and a third baseman. Maybe I wasn't great at it, but I was decent and I had fun. And, it was something I really looked forward to. I like to practice. I like to play catch. I like to do things with bats. I ended up playing softball, well into my adult years. Pretty much when I quit drinking, I think is when I quit softball in Columbia. But for her, and I don't want her to be frustrated because she's at the point like on the soccer team right now where she's been working at it. Her mom played collegiate soccer. Becky played NAIA. And I think to a certain extent, Alexa's mindset was, well, I don't want to do that because that's what mommy did. And, I've tried to get her to try to take up golf. No, I don't want to do that. And I want her to find her own way. But I do see this that exists with, even her on the soccer team that she's participating in right now. Most of the kids are better than she is because she needs to catch up. There's practice. She's trying. She's doing, everything
and
she
she
can.
may. She's young, right?
But you understand his point. Now, if you've kind of got them, sort of focused on one or two things. We're kind of on the two things now, volleyball and soccer, and we'll see how long that lasts. And she seems to like both of those. So we're not really forcing anything on her. But to what Greg also was saying, I think a lot of parents do. They pick their lane. They keep going. You get these club teams, and I don't know what the expectations are if you're looking at scholarships. But let's face it, the reality is most of these kids are not going to play collegiate sports or anything beyond that. So just have them enjoy what they're doing right now.
It does seem like there's a lot less like 3-sport athletes in high school these days, right? Like I told somebody the other day that I played 3 sports in high school, and it was like they were a younger person than I, and
they don't do that.
And they were like, no, they don't at all. It's like you play club baseball in 5th grade, and you only focus on baseball, and you only go to high school and play baseball. Like those kids aren't focused on other sports at all. But like I do agree with that because I swam, and I think me swimming made me a better baseball player and a better you know what I'm saying? Like I think that those things all tied well together, and I definitely agree with what he's saying where kids at a younger age, I've been talking more and more about this. I'd love nothing more than my kid one day to be a great baseball player and play club baseball, play for the best teams that there are, whatever. But also at the same time, that's how you burn that kid out. And that's how you as a parent, I think, become burnt out because every single weekend that you have is spent around.
Well, that was part of Greg Olson's point too. And it really does get to be, I think for a lot of parents, I'm not going to put myself in this category because we've not gotten to that level of, club teams and quite honestly, I'm hoping that we don't. But if we do, it's because, my daughter likes it and she's not being forced into that lane.
Exactly.
Well, you remember my niece Sophie who played field hockey, and she was late to that sport, right? She got into it in freshman year, but still of high school, maybe a little bit younger, late middle school. But it worked out for her, and she ended up playing D1.
Yeah,
You never know.
I can't remember what if it because I'm watching all these NFL shows right now that I love. You have the Kingdom, which is on Disney and Hulu, which is about the Chiefs. There's Quarterback on Netflix. I watched Hard Knocks last night, which features the Buffalo Bills. But there was someone, I think it might have been in the episode I watched of Hard Knocks last night, and this is rare, but it does happen, where one of the players was talking about, it might have been a rookie or a second-year player, said, look, I didn't even start playing football until I was like a junior in high school. So sometimes that does happen. Now he's an NFL player.
I have a friend who has a daughter who went like middle school, high school, gymnastics, dance. By the time she got to college, she was done with it because she just burned out. And was so sore. Her bones and body were so sore from all the time you spend doing it early, leading up to when you wanted to do it in college.
The main goal that I have is keeping my daughter active and not, sitting on the iPad all the time and having activities. And, I think hanging with friends. And that's why she likes softball and soccer soccer and volleyball, although softball I'm trying to guide her into as well. Volleyball is kind of fun.
It's so fun.
It's fun to play as an adult.
Yes.
It really is. A little sand volleyball too.
Oh my goodness.
What was your third sport, by the way? If you swam, you played baseball. What was the third sport?
I played water polo.
Oh, well, that makes sense though.
Yeah.
Water polo seemingly that like when I was in high school, that was a bigger deal.
I was
thought.
actually better at water polo than I was at baseball, but then when I was in high school, they switched to the same season and I chose to play baseball. I did actually for like a one of the years play both in the same season. It just worked out. I didn't go to practice for one of the sports, and then it was a whole deal. That's why it only lasted 1 year for me.
You weren't in the band or anything.
I was, dude. I was in the marching.
You in the band too?
Oh, I was in the marching band.
What did you play in the band?
And that, I guess, is considered a sport. If we're being,
well, shoot.
Do they consider it a sport?
I don't think so, but I did it too. Clarinet. What
I
you
don't
got?
know. I was the first chair trumpet player.
Ooh, love it.
Man, I was good at the trumpet. Let me tell you.
Were you really?
Honestly, I'm maybe setting myself up for something, but I think I could probably bring my trumpet in and still play like the national anthem from
so you
memory.
Do you have a trumpet?
Oh, I have.
You do?
I give it a toot every once in a while.
I don't think that sounds like a personal problem, but
I do. I swear it. So we're going on a whole nother chat, but my grandpa was actually one of the the main trumpet players in the original St. Louis Blues band that played at the old arena at the games and stuff like that.
Is awesome.
Yeah, and at the Muni. So we went to the Muni last night and it made me think of that. But he was like one of the first trumpet players in all like
is he still alive?
He's not. He passed away like when I was like 3 or 4 years old. But that was kind of, I guess, where my musical background comes from.
Was that your first instrument then?
Trumpet. Yeah. I mean, drums early on, just because I liked,
banging on things.
I liked banging on. Thanks, Sue, for saving me.
I'm
there.
here for you.
Appreciate.
See,
I was gonna say something else, but
I'd rather have my daughter like do an instrument because she's musically focused, or play guitar, piano, or something like that. But she hasn't gone.
Well,
for
you
that
like me. I mean, you're a big music guy,
yeah.
And I was actually surprised that you weren't more musically talented.
Me too. Me too, Alex.
Let
me tell you, I tried when I was,
someone that loves music so much. It's like you didn't even attempt to
I
try
did
to
attempt.
learn something.
Of course I attempted. I just failed. No, all I did was I bought a Fender Mustang in like 1978, and I played 2 songs, "Smoke on the Water"
I knew
and
that would be one of them.
One of the others, and that was it. And drove
Probably
my
that
mom
Green
and dad
Day
crazy.
song.
And then there were these kids from my neighborhood that were trying to do a band, and they didn't need a guitar player, and they're like, "Why don't you play bass?" And I'm like, I don't know how to play bass. Like I knew how to play guitar. And there's a part of me that deeply regrets that, because this is one of my things. And you guys know me well enough to know that I really don't do what I say I'm going to do. Yes. I don't follow through. I have an issue with following through, but I have such a fascination with the bass. I would love to buy a bass and take bass lessons and just kind of, have some fun with that. But I don't even know if I could do it. So what happened when I bought the guitar? I never took lessons. I think I thought at the time that you would just magically, I'd have talent.
I did.
I did not. So I sold that guitar.
That's all right. We're looking maybe actually for a bass player to add to the trio.
Maybe that could be me.
Well, how hard is it to play bass compared to guitar?
I think
are they totally different?
They're totally different, but I think like you could kind of fake playing bass if you just kind of know the. Sounds stupid, but the bass note,
right?
Like the root of the note, you know what I mean?
Strings, right.
So something that sounds kind of like it's accurate.
I want to be like Geddy Lee, though.
That's
okay.
the thing.
Yeah.
So
didn't your parents say, Mark, let's get you a lesson? And were you just too impatient?
I don't think they ever did. I don't think they did. No, I think they thought
probably wanted that to end.
They knew he had no hope.
I think they wanted it to end for sure. That's true.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We've got an accident on the ramp from southbound 270 to southbound 55, and they've pushed it off to the left. If somebody goes by there, is that a teal-colored vehicle? It looks like it to me. Anyway, it's off on the left, and it is causing a delay. If you are southbound on 270, look for slow-moving traffic back through 44. Now, we've also got some volume out there, westbound 70 Jennings Station Road, a little bit past the airport, and then it lines up. We had an earlier accident close to the 64 split, so slow pockets that go back through, looks like K. 40 is slow, and slowing out west, it's jammed Highway N past Lake St. Louis Boulevard. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic. This report is brought to you by Barron Mirror Glass and Door. They have the largest, most beautiful showroom in all of St. Louis, full of the latest, most custom designs, located in Chesterfield Valley. There you'll see why they say creativity unlimited, quality unsurpassed. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
97.1 FM Talk is proud to support the Make Missouri Pro-Life Again banquet. Mark Cox here. Join me Monday, September 8th at the St. Charles Convention Center with special guest speaker Laura Trump. Learn more at 971talk.com/events.
Attention St. Louis Medicaid members. If you need assistance with daily living, you can receive a free service from Freedom Care in your own home from a loved one who lives with you. With Freedom Care, you decide who provides your daily care, helping you with preparing meals, bathing, laundry, transportation, and more. A family member or friend that gets paid weekly. This Medicaid program is available to eligible St. Louis residents. New to Medicaid, the Freedom Care family will guide you through enrollment, making it stress-free for patients and caregivers. With over 7,000 five-star Google reviews, we've perfected at-home care for Medicaid members and caregivers. If you live in the St. Louis area, this service is available through Medicaid, and with our InstaPay app, caregivers can choose to get paid weekly. So go to freedomcare.com now, or for faster service, call 314-697-4912, 314-697-4912. That's 314-697-4912.
Freedom Care, we're here for you.
Hi, I'm Bob Kershaw with Retirement Advisory Group. Are you worried about market volatility? Are you concerned your money won't last you through retirement?
Hi, I'm Tammy Kershaw, and as a family-owned business, we are committed to protecting your retirement, whether you're nearing retirement or already retired. We have a lot of folks that aren't aware of all the new investment choices that are available, which give you growth and protection from losses at the same time. Are you aware of all the fees that you are currently paying? We can show you how to avoid those fees. So come in now for your free retirement review and get a second opinion on your retirement plan. And just for coming in, you'll get a copy of our latest edition book, Your Key to a Worry-Free Retirement. Let us show you how to retire with confidence.
We are proud to say we haven't lost a penny of our clients' money in 39 years, and we won't lose a penny of yours either. Let our family help your family. Call us now at 314-993-9494 or go online to retirementkey.com. That's retirementkey.com.
There's been a lot of talk about tariffs, how it's going to do this and it's going to destroy the economy. Prices are going to go up. Depending where you get your news from or your information from, it's going to make everything unaffordable and so on and so forth. Tariffs have absolutely zero effect on the heating and cooling equipment that we purchase. So don't be misled and fooled that if you're told that you have to buy something now because of tariffs, call me. That's the nicest thing I can say. Call me for a second opinion. Bart Inman, one easy number, Missouri and Illinois. There's only one. If you do not dial this number, it will be the wrong number. It is area code 314-293-2600. Again, easiest number, Missouri and Illinois, 314-293-2600, or on the computer, bartinman.com. Remember, 0% financing is available for most up to 60 months. Fantastic.
If you want thick, healthy, gorgeous hair, then you need Hair Volume from New Nordic. Available as a tablet or delicious gummy, Hair Volume is available online at Amazon and newnordicusa.com or in the hair care aisle at your local CVS.
Bold conversations, no apologies. The Mark Reardon Show, 97.1 FM Talk.
Alex, you mentioned that you went to the Muni last night. You saw Jersey Boys,
I
right?
did,
And
yeah.
I was very curious. I always wondered this because I knew it used to happen back in the day. But when I came back to St. Louis a couple of decades ago, I'm like, why do they not have concerts at the Muni like they used to? Just the shows. And I always avoid the Muni mainly because of the heat. I can't even remember the last time I was there. But Diana Ross is coming with John Baptiste. I think it's a week from tomorrow night on the 28th. And I've never seen her. She would be one. I have this rule now where I don't really see rock stars over the age of 70. I would make an exception for Diana Ross.
So
I think.
generous.
She's on that must-see list for you.
Well, yeah, I think she is, and I've heard she sounds pretty good. And John Baptiste is amazing anyway.
Yeah.
So I'd go to see. So maybe I decide it's next Thursday night. Maybe I try to sneak into that show at the last minute. So everyone in this room, can I get a show of hands, even though the listeners won't be able to see the show of hands? Did we all live at one point in a dorm? Fred, you lived in a dorm, right?
Of course.
At Mizzou, and Alex?
Yeah, I did at Indiana. And I actually stayed in a dorm for that little, the baseball deal I coached a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
I had to stay in a dorm
Really?
Yeah, because it was
Wow.
different this
So
year. There were no host families. We didn't even talk about this.
This is interesting because
It's humbling.
I'm mentioning the Hard Knocks show on HBO Max. Not going to say HBO and Max because they rebranded again. But the Buffalo Bills have this first 2 week of training class. Maybe it's just 1 week where they all go and they have to live in a dorm, and it is pretty stripped down.
It definitely. It would say it brings you closer together. That's for sure.
I bet.
Well, I bring it up because in the Washington Post, they did a story. And this seems crazy to me. Now, I've got a couple of kids that are out of college and that have been in dorms somewhat recently. And Alexa went to a swim camp at Mizzou last year, and she stayed in a dorm room. And, I was there helping her move in. But now, what the thing is there's this TikTok trend where these kids are seeing all this crazy stuff that's put in a dorm room where it looks like a luxury dorm room. So the story starts this way. When Melanie Turner asked her niece, Keena, what she wanted for a high school graduation present, the rising college freshman had her request ready. I want you to do my dorm room like the ones on TikTok. She was going to Georgia State University. So Aunt Turner, who works, or Aunt Melanie, I guess we'd say, who works as an event designer, got on TikTok and she was shocked because you have cinder block walls covered with patterned wallpaper. Beds in a bag had been replaced by luxury linens. If you could see the pictures in this story, it's crazy. Ruffled bed skirts fluttered above sheepskin rugs and matching curtains framed dorm windows. Instead of posters held up by command strips, framed artwork hung on the walls, monogram pillows.
Oh, yeah.
And all this stuff. So they're saying that now, again, I think this is still somewhat of a rarity, but it's a trend on TikTok. And there are parents who are spending between $5,000 and $10,000 to turn a single dorm room into a lacy, blush-colored paradise. Now, this is mainly for the chicks, I think.
Oh, for sure. You
Right.
should see. I see it all on social media when they. Well, I guess I'm a little past that now, but when they take their kids and they would put on draped. I mean, the lighting, the whole thing.
I think my mom helped me hang a Dave Matthews poster in my room.
Right?
Yeah. It was a big one. It covered the wall. I mean, it was,
I mean, I don't even know if I had anything. I remember having a turntable and a receiver and some speakers in my dorm room. My first dorm room was on Stevens College. Actually, it was the only dorm I lived in. I lived in Stevens College, Hillcrest Hall, which they used as an overflow dorm at Mizzou, but it was my first choice because they had air conditioning and Mark Twain was the only dorm at the time and they were private. So I picked that. Then I moved into an apartment in the second year. But even though I had a relatively fancy dorm over there in Stevens, we had suites. So we didn't have I couldn't do the community.
Did you have a mini fridge?
Yes, of course.
Yeah. Did you feel like if you had a mini, I don't mean this in a mean way, but back then was like having a mini fridge super cool?
I don't think so. I think pretty much everyone had to have a mini fridge.
I did.
That's what I thought.
How else would you keep how would you keep your beer cold? And where would you hide your weed? Because we did both in the mini fridge, my roommate Brandon and I, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Well, that lets me out.
Yeah, some of us did
Makes it last longer, I guess.
Well, all right. Where would you store your Diet Coke or something like that?
That's just it. And there was no TV.
Oh, we had a TV.
Yeah, we didn't.
Because I remember watching Letterman. So it might not have been the fanciest TV, but I remembered I had to be back in the dorm room to watch Letterman.
Really small one.
Right.
Yeah.
So there wasn't much in there, and there probably wasn't much on the wall, and the bed didn't really amount to anything. But you know what? That was supposed to be what a dorm was like.
Yeah, I agree.
Exactly.
And you're basically in there. Well, and I didn't do a lot of studying in the dorm. I believe it or not, I studied, but I had a routine where I would go to the library at Mizzou, and I couldn't do it in my dorm room. If I was doing something in one of the more common areas, I could do it. But the dorm room was not an area that I would only do my papers in there.
Did you live with a random person?
I did. And it was quite the deal because it was I was a white, dorky West County kid, and there was a relatively, to me, he was large at the time, African American from the Central West End who was older than me, who was my dorm roommate, and we are still friends to this day.
That's
nice. That's nice.
Yeah, I won't mention his last name since I just mentioned, booze and weed, but Brandon and I are still close to this day.
That's nice.
We get together every once in a while. Our politics are not the same, but we can look past that, and we've had a friendship that has lasted all these years. So yeah, it wasn't random.
I had a random roommate. He slept in blue jeans, and I think he was a serial killer.
That's a good one. Alex, have a great week. We'll talk next week.
Talk to you.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Lots of volume out there. Boy, school is back in session. And if you are traveling on westbound 6440 We are jammed approaching Kings Highway. There's an accident near the Science Center causing a delay, slowing again as you head for Lindbergh out through 270, moderate volume through Chesterfield Valley, and then just a jam. And this is Highway N out past Lake St. Louis Boulevard. Now 70 has moderate volume Jennings Station Road past the airport, slowing also near K. Southbound 270 jamming at 55. You know, that's where we had that accident on the ramp from southbound 270 to southbound 55, and also heavy traffic headed into Illinois. Poplar Street Bridge through the 70 split. I'm Sue Thomas, and that is traffic. Hold on. Fred, let me see.
Hang on. Hold on.
This
what are we
report
doing?
is brought to you by the Diamond Shop. The Diamond Shop, making St. Louis sparkle for over 100 years. That's traffic. 457 97.1 FM Talk.
You probably hear me talking from time to time occasionally about James Hardie fiber cement siding, and maybe you don't know what that is. Easy way to find out about it. Well, two ways. You call the team at Banner Construction, say, hey, I heard this guy on the radio talking about the best siding that you can put on your home, and a company that can do that for me. You call 314-569-1050, or you go to the website. They have a whole section, even a downloadable guide. There's some videos that will show you what the siding is all about. You have different options like the Hardie plank siding, which comes in a variety of finishes, including cedar mill, beaded cedar mill, and smooth. You have the shingle siding, which comes in either staggered, straight edge, or scalloped panels. You have the vertical siding that has finishes like cedar mill, smooth, stucco, and Sierra, and the artisan collection. That's super fancy. It's thicker. It adds more dimension. It looks more luxurious because it's supposed to. And the team at Banner can tie that all together with some soffit that will offset the colors and look tremendous and make your home the best looking home in the neighborhood. Again, the website is awesome. It's got a showcase where you can see some of the homes from our area that have been transformed. Don't forget, they also specialize in Pella replacement windows, and both those companies, James Hardie and Pella, puts a lot of trust in this great company here in St. Louis, Banner Construction. 314-569-1050. The website again, bannerconstruction.com, and have a banner day.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. If you've been injured in a car accident, call America's largest injury law firm. For over 35 years, my mission has been to deliver more for our clients, to deliver more for you. Injured? Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Tony LaRussa here. Men, are you running out of stamina rounding third base? If so, call my friends at Victory Men's Health in O'Fallon, Illinois. Scoring at home is important, just as important as crossing the plate with the winning run. VictoryMen'sHealth.com.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-500-5000.
That's 314-500-5000.
All on the free Odyssey app.
Israel moving the war in Gaza into a new phase. Angelo Bavaro, Fox News, a spokesperson, says Israel has entered the first stages of its planned attack on Gaza City, and that forces already have a hold on the city's outskirts.
Israel's plans to basically go into Gaza City comes at a time when mediators from both Qatar and Egypt are working to bring the fighting to an end. Hamas has reportedly agreed to this latest ceasefire agreement, but Israel's defense minister already approving plans to call up more reservists as they begin the first steps towards an operation that digs deeper into the territory of Gaza. Now, precisely 60,000 reservists are being called up, and another 20,000 reservists are being told that their deployment could last a little longer. With plans approved for this new operation, the focus will be again on Gaza City, believed to be Hamas's main stronghold.
Fox's Jeff Paul, an ISIS member projected to be the terrorist organization's next leader, is dead after a U.S. military raid in Syria on Tuesday. A U.S. official says no U.S. troops were injured in that. NATO military leaders are discussing how to implement security guarantees for Ukraine as a new poll in that country finds a significant drop in support for the war with Russia.
As of this year, 69% of Ukrainians say that they would be willing to accept a deal if it was negotiated as soon as possible, compared to 24% who still want to continue to fight until a victory. That's basically flipped from 2022, when 73% favored Ukraine fighting until victory and 22% preferred a negotiated end as soon as possible. So on top of the death toll and destruction of this war, there are a couple other big reasons that Ukrainians tell me that these numbers are not surprising to them. One of them being the military. Recruitment remains low, and active troops say there's not enough support to give them adequate leave.
America's listening to Fox News.
Millions of Americans take medicine like Ozempic and Zepbound. Many of them are overpaying by thousands of dollars a year.
These GLP-1 medications for diabetes, weight loss, and more may not always be covered by your insurance, but GoodRx can help. GoodRx helps you save every month on prescriptions at over 70,000 pharmacies nationwide. Best of all, it's free to use. Check GoodRx to save on GLP-1s. Just go to goodrx.com/GLP. That's goodrx.com/GLP. GoodRx is not insurance, but can be used instead of insurance, including Medicare and other federal and state-funded programs.
You're still glowing, flirting, grooving. You still got it. But your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and help strengthen your immune response. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Schedule in minutes at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation, weather.
Well, this is certainly better as we beat back the summer beast. Clear skies dropping out of the 80s fairly quickly this evening. Delightful. 68 for the low, and the humidity has really dropped off. Thursday, mostly sunny. What a wonderful day from start to finish. 85. Thursday night, clear skies, 67. Friday and Saturday, we're ahead of this next cool front. Sunny skies Friday and Saturday. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
We, without hesitation, recommend that anybody work with ThrottleNet. The experience will be as good as it's been for us, for anybody, because you'll get a true partnership and you'll be able to rest easy that you're going to get the service that you need while they're also doing all those things that you don't want to have to think about, that you don't want to have to worry about. They're always doing that in the background for you.
Don't wait for your next IT crisis. If your business depends on technology, you need a partner that's got your back. Contact ThrottleNet.com to get a free IT evaluation and see how we can support your IT everything.
If you've been thinking about a new project for your backyard, now's the time to call my friends at Chesterfield Fence and Deck. If you mention my name, they will give you 20% off the bottom line of your next outdoor project with Chesterfield Fence and Deck. It's what they do. They've been at it for many, many years, since 1968, and they take a lot of pride in what they do at Chesterfield Fence. Now, of course, they do fences and they do decks. That's in the name. But they can also help you with a custom pergola in your backyard, maybe an indoor-outdoor room that's all season, or just a screened-in porch. They can do cement work and build a nice fire pit in your backyard. Whatever you can imagine, they will help you design it and put it into your backyard, and they stand behind all of their products with great guarantees. Better Business Bureau accredited with an A+ rating. Call them right now and tell them you want your 20% off. Mention my name. Go to ChesterfieldFence.com.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
Oh my goodness, man. We've had a heat wave in the studio. We started off here at 66 degrees. Maybe it was the warmth of our friend Alex Rich. We're up to 68. That's the first time I've seen it hit 68, Sue,
wow,
this week.
I don't feel the difference.
No, I don't either. We still have our blankets on, so we appreciate. We identified the listener. Timothy Scott was the person who sent us all blankets here in the studio. We appreciate his generosity. We're going to have a lot of fun tomorrow afternoon. Not that we don't always have fun, but George Gray will be here from The Price is Right. He'll play a little game we like to call The Price is Wrong. George is awesome. The last time he was in here, and I think it was because he knew he had some friends that were listening on the stream across the country, it was a Hall of Fame level Price is Wrong. So we'll see if he can beat that or match that. Our former producer, we call him Producer Emeritus David Klein, helps come up with the items and has done a really good job. You have to have good items, and they have to be kind of funny. And when George can work around some fun items, we essentially play a game that's like The Price is Right, you see, but we call it The Price is Wrong. It's very complicated, and usually it's heavy competition, right?
Yes.
So that's tomorrow in the 4 o'clock hour. Senator Eric Schmidt is back with us tonight. He's got a new book out. It's called The Last Line of Defense, How to Beat the Left in Court. We have some other things to discuss with him as well. Senator, welcome back. It's been a little while. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Mark. It's great to be with you.
How about this path that former Missouri attorneys general have to get to D.C.? Josh Hawley seemingly done pretty well. You've done pretty well. Now Andrew Bailey heads over to help with the FBI. It's kind of an amazing track, that position, isn't it?
It really is. And ironically, you know, the only other two AGs that went directly to the Senate were I guess Danforth had done it, and then Eagleton, but I think he actually was in the lieutenant governor spot. So yeah, it's a relatively recent kind of turn of events, but I'm happy for Andrew. He's done a great job, and I think he more hands on deck in the FBI, the better, I suppose, right?
I'm happy for him too, but I love the job. Look, you know how much I was a fan of the work that you were doing. I think he has done an exceptional job in the Missouri AG's office. Look, nothing against Catherine. I think she's experienced and she's certainly qualified to do the job. She's going to be with me in the studio tomorrow, by the way, but I hate to lose Andrew to Washington. That does not, of course, completely discount his return to Missouri politics at some point.
Yeah, no, I think he was called to serve, right? And he's doing it in different capacity, and actually just had an announcement today with Kash Patel. We've been working on this since day one with the FBI to have a larger permanent presence in St. Louis. We made that announcement today. It's per capita the biggest investment the FBI's made in any place in the country, and worked very closely with Kash Patel on that. We were able to announce that today, and so. Yeah, we want to make sure we're doing everything we can for violent crime in St. Louis.
Yeah,
for sure.
I saw that, and you kind of beat me to the punch on the question. So what is that all about? Is that something that you've been working on for a while? Is it something that they will focus on in particular with, in coordination with local authorities? Is there something different about it, or just kind of man up here and make sure that we have enough of an FBI presence?
Well, it's interesting. So, during the confirmation process, there are a few things I wanted to work on specifically for Missouri, and as it turns out for St. Louis, on the defense side, I talked to Pete Hegseth and of course had dinner with President Trump specifically about the F-47. We're able to deliver that. So the thousands of jobs and hundreds of millions of dollars worth of investments going to happen, hundreds of billions of dollars worth of investments going to happen in St. Louis. That was a big deliverable. And then this is something I talked to Kash Patel about during his confirmation. We had an interesting conversation about his vision, and he wanted to get FBI agents out of Washington and into the field across the country. I said, well, I've got the perfect spot for you in my hometown of St. Louis, where, it's just been riddled with violent crime. And we don't want to do this in a way that it's just, sort of people in an office, but actually people who are going to take on violent crime, help make those arrests, work with the locals, and lead to prosecutions. And so today we were able to finally announce that. There's a lot of logistics that go into that. But like I said, it's the biggest investment the FBI's had in the country in a particular place, and so that's going to be in St. Louis. And when I was AG, we launched the Safer Streets initiative, where we partnered with the feds on criminal prosecutions. When Biden came in, sadly that thing went away. They canceled the program, and so I want to do everything I can now in this capacity to help clean up the streets of St. Louis.
Sue, it's been confusing to me because, Eric, we had a great relationship with a couple of the different FBI directors here in St. Louis, or what they, the assistant special agents in charge or whatever. The Rebecca Wu, who I think is now Rebecca Neighbor, she used to be a reporter, and she would be great at introducing us to the new special agent in charge. And there were at least three that I, got to know pretty well. And then I forget the last guy's name, he ended up going back to Washington. And I don't know if it's because they don't have someone in that permanent position, but we've kind of lost touch with them, which is unfortunate because they've done such a great job at, communicating with us some of the successes that they've had. And I was able to, Eric, I don't know if you ever did this, but they did this, what they call it, damn it, Sue, the Citizens Academy.
Yes, and it was fantastic and eye-opening.
Yeah, so I was able to sit in a class. I don't even know why I was invited. There were a bunch of important people there, like business leaders, Mark Harder from the St. Louis County Council, but they took us through essentially some of the cases that that they would investigate, and it was almost like a classroom setting. But then we got to go to the range. I got to shoot a machine gun, which was pretty fun. But the thing that we always point to, and Sue's done this as well, is we all had a simulation for like a mass shooting or something like that, and you'd be in front of this big screen, it was all computer oriented, and you'd have to decide. Like, I was running back cover for a mass shooting at a warehouse, and I had to make sure that the people that were rushing out to safety didn't have one of the bad guys with them, because sometimes they hide with the people that are running out of the building. But the point of all this is that you are put in, I wish everyone in the country could have this opportunity, because you're put in a situation where you have to make a snap decision, and you would have much greater appreciation for what the cops have to do on a regular basis.
Well, and one last point on this too is my former chief deputy, Tom Albus, is the new U.S. attorney. He's the acting U.S. attorney. We look forward to his confirmation. And then one of my other, actually, the Missouri is getting St. Louis, in particular, the Eastern District. The first 4 district court judges out of the gate are from President Trump, are in the country, are here coming to Missouri in the Eastern District. So what does that mean? We're going to have 4 new judges We're going to have a new U.S. attorney. We got all these FBI agents that are coming now. I mean, this has been something that I've been working on for the first 7 months of the administration. It's important to see to fruition to take on the violent crime problem we have in St. Louis. So the things are at least situated here for hopefully some good results.
Yeah, that's great. Now let me segue into D.C. and what's happening there. There were some protests. We had a great event. I have some audio that I'm going to share a little bit later from J.D. Vance, the vice president. We also had Stephen Smith there today, and Stephen Miller was there today, and others, kind of focusing on that with all these protesters outside of Union Station. But, I think it's going to be difficult for a lot of people on the left to criticize this when it actually works and reduces crime.
Yeah, I mean, it turns out when you have a bigger police presence and you prosecute violent crime, it is a deterrent, and you take the violent people off the streets. The truth of the matter is, it's a very small segment, even of criminals, that are actually engaging in the violent crime. And you just have to have the political will, honestly, to go do that and give law enforcement the room to operate. And that's what's happening in Washington, D.C. And that's what gives me hope in St. Louis, is that what we've been talking about here is what I don't want. And I've seen enough of this as my previous role. We don't need people who are doing, white collar crime is important to go after. I'm talking about violent crime in particular neighborhoods in St. Louis that we need to clean up. And everybody deserves to feel safe, especially the people in the neighborhoods that have been terrorized by violent crime. So, yes, this is happening in Washington, D.C. It's a great test case. I think violent crime is already way down just in like a week and a half. So they're taking the bad guys off the streets, and that should be something. I don't think that should be partisan, but sadly in this day and age, it probably is.
Well, and Stephen Miller made a brilliant point about this. Look, the white hippies that are out there and they're yelling and shouting about this, that's the 1%. The 99% of people who live, and the same thing for St. Louis with the black residents and in neighborhoods, they want the police to protect them and their kids and their grandkids. But you get the opposite feeling based on the BLM folks and the narrative from Megan Green and all the nutcases here and also in Washington. It's the opposite of reality.
I think people are tired of all the virtue signaling, honestly, from a lot of the folks on the left here when real people have been affected. It isn't 2020 anymore. Like, we're over it. We're tired of the BS, and we're going to clean up the streets. And you kind of just need people who are going to bulldoze their way in to go do it. And I think that's what we're seeing right now.
Let me get your thoughts on some foreign policy stuff, because obviously, Trump likes to get things done. He's getting things done day after day after day. I think it's remarkable, and you won't hear this from the legacy media. Now, we don't know how this is going to end. It's remarkable that he got Vladimir Putin to a meeting in Anchorage last week with a little show of force behind him, by the way. I love that with the B2. And all these European leaders to Washington on Monday. I heard he was on the phone until the early morning hours of yesterday, still trying to talk about some of this. Now, what happens next with Zelensky and Putin and a meeting along those lines? That might be a little difficult to, execute. Obviously, the president thought this one might be a little easier to solve. But what are your thoughts on the progress there?
It's just pretty incredible. And, I include myself. I think it's the emerging, the ascendant foreign policy view in Washington, but it's still in permanent Washington, this whole America first, American realism foreign policy that I subscribe to, that President Trump, J.D. Vance subscribed to. It's very different than sort of the neoconservative or neoliberal view that's dominated Washington for such a long time. And this is the result of actually having an American president who has the confidence and the strength to, like with Putin coming in, like the left was just losing their minds that he would be meeting with this guy. If you're actually engaged in real world diplomacy, not just white papers at Harvard, like you meet with people that you wouldn't necessarily want to marry your daughter, but they're like leaders of a country. They're at war, and you're trying to broker a peace where 1 million people plus have died. Thousands more die every week. It is a meat grinder. President Trump is trying to, it's not our war. Like, this is their war, but he's trying to bring this to a resolution. That's what leadership looks like. And I think that's the kind of stuff that can unite the country. He's done it. I mean, Azerbaijan and Armenia and Pakistan and India. I mean, all this stuff that he's bringing these world leaders together because he's using the levers that we have as the United States, whether it's trade or all the other things, to bring people to the table and stop the killing. Like, that's something I think we should celebrate. So who knows where this goes? The next step is this bilateral meeting between Russia and Ukraine, and there's still a lot of thorny issues to work out. But at least he's given it a try, which is much better than we saw the last 4 years, where it was just a blank check for an endless war.
Senator Eric Schmitt is here. What is next legislatively coming off? You guys, Congress is on a little bit of a break. It was in the aftermath of the big, beautiful bill. There's still some, I forget what the process is called now that we enter into, where you're looking at some of the budgetary items and trying to, cut more money back. But what does the fall look like legislatively for Congress?
Well, before we left, I had the honor and was trusted by the White House and my Senate colleagues to handle the rescissions package. So it's the first time we've done that in 30 years and managed the floor for 17 hours to get that done. And that defunded NPR, it defunded PBS, it got rid of this ridiculous spending at USAID for Guatemalan sex changes and DEI in Burma, all this nonsense. So that was a big win that we showed the political will we could go do that. So when we come back, we're really kind of in two phases, the appropriations process. The Senate's committed to, moving forward with appropriations. That's got to be done by September 30th. We'll see if the Democrats continue their obstruction on that or not. And then also the National Defense Authorization bill we do every year. I'm on the Armed Services Committee. We'll likely move that. That's got a lot of key investments, including for the F-47 in St. Louis, the B-21, which is the replacement for the B-2, Fort Leonard Wood, all the contractors that help, we're trying to expand our industrial base. St. Louis, this is my vision, and one of the things I'm working on is make St. Louis the defense tech capital of the United States. That's our rightful place, and we're working on with a bunch of different companies. Scale AI just announced that they're moving into the one of the buildings downtown. This is what when I meet with these people who come in and they want to talk about the Armed Services Committee and what we do, I ask them what their presence is in Missouri. And I just think it's a great spot for us to be in. The F-47 is going to mean a lot, and all the kind of contractors that work on that. So those are the two things I would say: appropriations, and then the NDAA. Those are the big ticket items coming up probably in September.
Well, tell me, this kind of caught me off guard, and I don't know if you know this, but I had a little bit of a leave of absence here recently, and I didn't know that you had a book. So the book is called The Last Line of Defense: How to Beat the Left in Court. I'm just curious because I don't have a copy of it. Am I mentioned in the foreword, the acknowledgments, the epilogue, or is there an entire chapter? It has to be one of those, right?
Well, they put Senator Eric Schmidt. I tried to get them to change it to the official U.S. Senator of the Mark Reardon show, but there wasn't enough space, I guess. But
Darn
look,
it.
This is exciting. Like, and what your listeners are going to love, Mark. I've been coming on your show more than any outlet, since I was a state senator.
Yeah.
And this is the story of what it's like to stand in the gap when the left was coming for all of our freedoms, when President Trump was out of power. Whether it was the vaccine mandates, we took that to the Supreme Court, we won. Whether it was the student loan debt forgiveness case, when I was AG, we took that to the Supreme Court and we won. We filed the Missouri versus Biden case and exposed the vast censorship enterprise. We really stood in the gap, not just at the federal level, but the local level. When you had these insane masking policies for kids, we fought back and we won. And it's really a playbook of how conservatives can fight in the courts and win. And we held the line until the cavalry arrived, and that was President Trump in November of 2024 when the fever broke. So your audience is going to love it. They can go on Amazon right now. I know people are driving. Some people are driving. Do not drive off the road. Pull over.
Don't.
You can order it on your Amazon app. I just think I've been doing a lot of national shows about it, but for your audience in particular, this is a Missouri-centered book about how we led the charge really to hold the line, like I said, until common sense could return.
I love it. I was bragging on you with Sean Spicer yesterday. He said that he had you on about the book. And one of the things I always tell people, and you know this because I think you've heard me say it on the air, is I was always amazed, and I've known a lot of politicians over the course of my 4 decades plus covering politics. But there are people who change in politics, and there are people who are kind of, you're normal. You're like a normal person who follows baseball and has passions for things, and you play golf and you can relate to people. And I say this with all sincerity because I've seen you operate this way. And I'm always worried when someone comes from, their humble beginnings, as you said, as a state senator, to get all the way and very quickly, I would say, to Washington, not only as a member of the United States Senate, but as a important member of the United States Senate. And I was bragging on you because of that, because I always felt like back when I was a young conservative, and I never was ashamed of that, but I always thought, why are Republicans always dorky pencil neck geeks? We're the cool Republicans. And, I said this to Sean, you become very close with J.D. Vance. And I think one of the realities of that is you're both like real people.
Right. No, that's how we bonded. Honestly, we came into the Senate together. He's like a normal dude,
yeah.
And we'll watch football and have some beers, and it's like a regular guy. And so, we bonded. And as my campaign slogan in 2022 was, Mark, you remember, I don't come from billions, I come from Bridgeton. So
that's right.
I just try to be myself. I don't know any other way to do this. And I try to have some fun with it. But
I love it.
Yeah, by the way, that's a huge compliment to me. In fact, it happens in DC. My staff will tell me, they're like, they walked away and they said, he just seems so normal, which, by the way, is the biggest compliment I think you could
But
give
good
me.
for you. It's real,
But
because
I
I'm not
appreciate
going to lie. I told people when you get to the sun, I'm like, man, I hope Schmidt doesn't change because, I've seen people change. Maybe even the other member of our United States Senate. But I love the way you're doing things and having fun with it. I mean, I'm shocked that you can come on this show because you're on Laura Ingram's show like 4 days a week too. So I appreciate you squeezing me in.
Well, I love you, Mark. I love you. We've known each other a long time. It's been too long since we got to a ball game together. But between now and then, I will make sure I get you a signed copy of noting my affection for you. And I do want to make sure that the audience does check this book out. I mean it sincerely. I think they're going to love it because I was coming on your show talking about these mass lawsuits, talk about the censorship, all that stuff. So your audience was kind of living in real time. It's now for the broader audience, but they can check it out. Last Line of Defense. Anywhere books are sold. It was really fun to write it, and a lot of reflection. I've never written a book before, and you kind of look back on a crazy, wild time that was defined by like COVID tyranny and social unrest and Kim Gardner and all this crazy
things,
stuff that was going on at the same time. But I think the lesson was, if you got guts, if you got courage, if you're not worried about what people are going to say, you can do a lot of really good and important things for the people you represent, and that's the story.
I love it. Congratulations on the book. Good to talk with you, and I hope to see you soon. Thanks, Eric.
All right, partner. See you.
Yep, take care.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Watch out for an accident westbound 6440. It looked like it was just past Kings Highway, and this thing has been blocking the right center lane. And we've been waiting for crews to arrive on the scene. And let's see, I'm trying to see if they have yet, but that's causing a huge delay behind it. So if you're a westbound 6440 driver, that's what's happening. The other huge jam we have is eastbound 5564 coming off the Poplar Street Bridge to about the 6470 split. Southbound 55 slowing south of Arsenal down through Rebus Barracks. The innerbound southbound slowing at 64. Now, 70 has some slow pockets of moderate volume out west. It is a little bit slow, though, right past Lake St. Louis Boulevard. 40 is worse, if that is anything for you. I mean, you want to choose. It's heavier, especially between Highway N and Prospect. And southbound 270, slow pockets anywhere from Olive through 21. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic. This report is brought to you by Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. Your garage door is the largest piece of moving equipment in your home, and when it needs help, you can call the experts at Overhead Door for same-day service. 314-781-5200 or online, overheaddoorstlewis.com. Sue Thomas with traffic, 97.1 FM Talk.
This report is sponsored by Overhead Door Company of St. Louis.
Let's talk about Generator Supercenter of St. Louis and get you incentivized to either make a call or go out to the store in Chesterfield or check out the website, which is generatorsupercenterofstlouis.com. This is probably the easiest messaging I have for any sponsor because we know what happened during the tornado. That's been in the news. By the way, Sarah Russell, who was in charge of SEMA, was let go today. That was one of the stories. But you do not want to be without power. And for those of you who were in the path of the tornado, you might have been out of power for a week or more. We've seen power grid failures in some part of the country and certainly some parts of the world, like Portugal and Spain a few months back. But if you want to get a free estimate on a Generac home standby generator from Generator Supercenter, the nation's #1 Generac generator dealer, you can do it right now. They sell awesome generators, high quality. I was very familiar with this company when I lived in Milwaukee for about 10 years because they're located right outside of the city of Milwaukee. If you're worried about long outages, severe storms, ice storms, blown transformers, give yourself peace of mind, and they do have financing available with low monthly payments. So don't wait for the next outage. Don't be that person. Call Generator Supercenter of St. Louis right now for a free estimate, 314-499-2020. The website, generatorsupercenterofstlouis.com.
It's motorcycle season in St. Louis. Time to ride. When the road gets rough and you're injured in an accident, you need someone who's got your back. You need Kaufman Townsley. We're local. We know St. Louis. And we don't settle unless it's what's best for you. When it's not, we go to trial. And we bring decades of experience with us. Kaufman Townsley. Real people. Real results. Call 314-500-5000. That's 314-500-5000.
The smartest way to do your homework is Heckman Lumber.
Warm weather means homework for homeowners. And for 80 years, Hackman Lumber has been the trusted name for home improvement. If your homework means a new deck, turn to the deck experts at Hackman Lumber. Browse the largest inventory of decking materials and accessories in Missouri. Talk with our experts about treated lumber, cedar, TimberTech, Trex, Envision, Decorators, and Duralife to find the perfect deck for you. Choose from endless railings, balusters, and LED deck lighting options. Hackman Lumber has been serving homeowners and pros for 80 years, and they will not be undersold on in-stock decking materials guaranteed. Whether you DIY with their expert advice or need a trusted contractor, Hackman has you covered. They are now an authorized steel dealer and stock a huge selection of grills. So celebrate summer with a new Big Green Egg, pellet grills, Weber gas, or charcoal grill, and all the accessories you need for the perfect backyard setup. Visit Hackman Lumber's showrooms in St. Charles, Pacific, and Troy, Missouri, or hackmanstl.com.
Annie Fry here. If you're nearing retirement or already retired, call my friends Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw with the Retirement Advisory Group. They'll show you how linking to the market is much safer than owning the market for your retirement savings. They are the official financial advisors of my show. Go to retirementkey.com.
Hey guys, Glover here for my friends Mark and Neil Gelman of eXp Realty. If you need to sell your home to buy a new one, it's never been more important to have an experienced negotiator that you can trust. You need my friends Mark and Neil Gelman on your side. 314-336-1991. Go to thegelmanteam.com.
Mark Reardon, Sue Thomas. This is the Mark Reardon Show.
It looks like we have Catherine Hanaway coming on the show tomorrow. The newly appointed Attorney General of Missouri, as Andrew Bailey goes to Washington, D.C. to help run the FBI. I want to do this. We'll probably spend a little time on this maybe on the roundtable on Friday, just because this is one of those no-brainer issues that I really cannot believe we didn't do sooner in this country, and I still don't think we're doing enough of it. Now, in my school district, Rockwood, where my daughter is a fifth grader, I think they have the policy now. I can't even remember if this is statewide law where public school districts have to comply. But I was driving around this morning, driving the puppy off to puppy daycare, and I was listening to Fox, and they were talking about, and I think this is going to resonate what I'm about to play to you. Maybe I should have saved it for audio cut of the day, but it will resonate with so many parents. Just listen, and this is early. This is early in a school year where you have a lot more districts that have cell phone bans, right? Either you can't take them out, you got to put them in the pouches, but during the school day, you are not using your phone unless it is an emergency. So just listen to the reaction from some of the experience that teachers have had.
Teachers have been clamoring for doing something about this, but we were all afraid that the parents would object, the students would object. And so now that all these states, 31 states now, are restricting cell phone access during the day, what we're finding is teachers are practically dancing in the hallways.
My school, my state, banned the phones. All of my students, 100% of them, took notes in my class, did their assignment, asked for help when they got stuck, and turned it in.
It's only been 2 weeks, but I've never had so many kids locked in and engaged in note-taking and in their classwork.
I mean, that's amazing. And by the way, I just had to cross-check this because sometimes I forget. Mike Kehoe, the governor, did sign last month a law that requires school districts to set a policy barring students from using mobile devices except for in emergencies or when instructed by a teacher. I know that I guess some parents are concerned, if something happens, I can't get a hold of my kids. You'll be able to get a hold of your kids. And by the way, let's face it, most of them don't answer your text anyway, because I've got kids that are older and younger, and they don't answer my texts. So this was one of those no-brainer situations that should have been implemented a long time ago. Now, in a story that I'm accessing here from the Missouri Independent, it says that Rockwood, my district, indicated that it wasn't completely banning smartwatches, but that it expects students to use their smartwatch for the purpose of keeping time and not for communication. So this is where it gets a little tough, because if you have the Apple Watch on or something like that, you can still text. The North Kansas City School District, though, will restrict uses of all smartwatches. They included the question, can my student wear their smartwatch if they're using it for communication on the website? And they said, parents, nope, they're barred. Fitness trackers without message capabilities are allowed. St. Louis Public Schools approved a policy that allows for each school to choose its phone collection method. They can't even do that right here in St. Louis. They say the flexibility acknowledges the diverse operational needs and preferences expressed by elementary and secondary staff and families. No, how about you just ban the kids from having the phones in the schools? Do it that way because it's working and it's going to continue to work. And we should have done it a long damn time ago, that's for sure. Alex Rosenberger from Master Cars Inc. is coming up here in just a couple of minutes. We're going to talk about the used car industry. I saw a story that was in the Wall Street Journal and things, the market's kind of active, but the prices are staying high. So we'll get Alex's take on that. Plus, I have an audio cut of the day coming up as well.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We've had some issues, and part of this is because we've got so much more volume now that school is back in session, and everybody's trying to get used to it. But there is an accident westbound 6440 past Kings Highway. They've been working to move it off to the shoulder. It's been in the right center lane, a jam behind that. 44 has some volume, more than we usually see, and especially in the Shrewsbury and Webster areas. If you are headed into Illinois, there's a jam coming off of the Poplar Street Bridge, especially through the 70 split. We've got southbound 170 slow at 64, and out west, 40 is jammed. There was an incident past Lake St. Louis Boulevard that created a delay, and that's almost back to Winghaven. Now that and the usual volume equals a lot. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic. This report brought to you by Infinite Vitality. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic. This is 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Tired of aging skin? Infinite Vitality reverses collagen loss, tightens with Morpheus and microneedling, and fades age spots. Look naturally younger, not plastic. Visit infinite-vitality.com. Mention Annie for a $50 credit.
All right, let's talk a little underdog fantasy, which is fun. I've been talking about it really the entire year. I was thinking about this yesterday. I don't remember if I started talking about underdog. I think it was at the end of the NFL season when we were in the playoffs. Now, you could have all this time done baseball and NBA and other sports, golf. They have everything on underdog, but football's back, right? And underdog is the best place to select entries and win money all season long. And you can play right now in Missouri. You can play with as little as $1. You can win up to 5,000 times your money with as little as $1. So it's a lot of fun. They make it real easy as well, but you have to start by downloading the app. You download the app, you sign up with the promo code MarkR. That will get you $50 in bonus funds when you play your first $5. So even if you just want to kind of pick around and see what the Champions Game and some of the other things are, it's very simple. You just have to pick higher or lower on a stat line. So for football, that would be touchdowns and interceptions and, running yards and passing yards, all that. Very easy. If you're a sports fan, you'll get it very, very quickly. Millions of fans have won billions making plays on Underdog. Will you be next? Must be 18 plus and present in Missouri. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Concerned with your play, call 800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org.
Don't get lulled into believing the IRS is getting soft. It's just the opposite. Hi, this is Lance Story with the Lance Story Law Firm. We are being told by IRS collection officers that their higher-ups are demanding that they get more aggressive than ever. So don't ignore them any longer. Level up. If you have unfiled returns, unpaid taxes, levies, or liens, call the Lance Story Law Firm today and let us get between you and the IRS. We'll protect your rights, including your right to appeal or even your right to take the IRS to tax court. Remember, IRS problems are legal problems, and they need to be handled by an expert attorney team who's done it for decades. So call the Lance Story Law Firm today. We're local. Our office is right here in St. Louis, or visit Lance, DRURY, law.com to schedule your free consultation with your local tax resolution law firm, the Lance Story Law Firm, 314-260-6120.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Coonahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions.
Hey, everybody, Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have leaf filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/radio to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
That's leaffilter.com/radio for your free gutter inspection today. See representative for warranty details. Promotion is 20% off plus a 10% senior or military discount. One discount per household.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
This portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air.
Real talk, today's issues. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Did you say it's going down to like 65 tonight, Sue Thomas?
Yeah, I think I said that in the old KZK forecast.
Awesome. I'm telling you what, that's where you start to think about fall just a little bit. And I am, we do the same thing every year. When it's cold, I say, I cannot wait for the heat. I'm so sick and tired of the cold. And I don't know what it is about this summer, just because maybe some of my health issues, but I'm just done with it. I want to get out with my puppy and run around a little bit more when I'm not sweating to the oldies, if you know
I
what
understand.
I mean. So let's look here, because I can give you a little update.
65.
Yeah, 65. And then tomorrow's 83 with a low of 65. 61 as you wake up on Sunday morning. 58 Sunday night.
Whoa.
Look at that. Oh, look. Whoa. So Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, 81 for the high Sunday, 58 for the low. Listen to this. 77 Monday, 54 for the low, 52 for the low. This is August. Are you kidding me?
Oh,
we're going to pay for this in September. September's going to be like brutally hot, right?
100%.
Wow. And then you get into the first couple of days of September, to my point, and you're back up in the 80s. But I would say that's pretty comfortable, right?
Wow, that's
we start to
great.
get the 70s and then the lower 50s. That's fall weather for sure. But it can still stay hot. Look, I've been in a deer stand in Howard County, Missouri in November, sweating when it's in the upper 80s. So we can still get a lot of heat. I saw a story last week, I think it was, in the Wall Street Journal. You know, I peruse the interwebs, if you will. Sometimes I send things to Fred and I say, hey, this would be a good topic for maybe our friend Alex Rosenberger from MasterCarsInc.com. The headline was, saving money on a used car is getting harder. Used car prices are rising faster than overall inflation after crossing the 30,000 mark again earlier this year. And Alex has been a friend and someone I've done business with for more than 10 years. He's back with us this afternoon. They have a used car dealership with new car caliber. I always brag on that in Granite City. Alex, how are you this afternoon?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. You know, you and I were talking quite a bit during the COVID days because it was tough to find cars. The prices were pretty high. There was that period where, you know, you even admitted, man, I don't know when it's going to change. And I think it finally did change and things settled down. But are we kind of heading back in the other direction right now with used car prices and supply, or not?
It sure feels like it. And that settling down was such a brief window, too. It didn't settle that much. And then now it feels like we're heading right back that direction again. And it doesn't feel, it is. The inventory is scarce. The prices are up. There was a bit of a run on them. I have no data to back this up. This is all gut, by the way. There was a run with the tariff scare that, you know, that no one was going to buy new. So everybody was snatching up used and everything went quickly. And now it is very difficult to find vehicles.
Yeah. So what do you think is driving that? They're in the Journal article, they said that, look, prices for new vehicles are pretty high. So that might be one of the reasons people are looking for used. You know how much I love you guys, because you can spend a lot less on a vehicle that looks new and has 5,000 or 7,000, 10,000 miles on it or more. But I mean, if you sold me the first time I met you guys, I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'm kind of looking at a car that I probably shouldn't be looking at right now, but what if I get it used? And that worked out. But now it becomes a little tougher just because of supply, right?
Yeah, it does become tougher because of supply, but it is still the same case. Yes, used car prices are up, but so are new cars. And then we're kind of back to that. If it's a very desirable model on a new car, you're not going to walk right in, find one on the lot, make a deal on it and drive off with it for a new car. You're going to order it. You're going to wait. It's now going to have the tariff. So it's more expensive. So it is still a more inexpensive option, but not cheap by any means.
One of the things they mentioned is EVs. You and I don't think are the biggest fans of electric vehicles. It seems to be what the future is becoming, though. But they did say that sales of used EVs are at an all-time high. Do you find that to be true?
I do. And, they almost had a death spiral for a while there. They got so incredibly cheap compared to MSRP. Whereas before you were going to give MSRP plus for a new Tesla, a Lucid Dream, something like that. And then they went into the spiral. They're still inexpensive compared to what they were new. And you really can feel like you're getting a deal on one. But they've leveled off. It's not, every time you open up a new value guide, it's decrease. It does seem to have leveled off.
I remember one of the things that we talked about years ago was, and I don't know if this is still happening, but a lot of times you're able to source a vehicle and you may be able to source it from another dealership. And I remember you telling me a story about you had a client that was looking for a Range Rover and something that was very specific. There was a dealership, I think it was in Indianapolis, and they wouldn't work with you because they wanted the financing money. The dealerships have issues as well. So they wanted to make sure that they get the financing with the vehicles because that's how they were making, a lot of their money because the margins are so small.
Right. For sure. Yeah, that's the case. And still remains the case. If they know that, and that's more, it's just, there's so many moving parts to that scenario too. If they know they're taking that thin deal to be competitive within the market, they are going to try and make it up in the back. However, it is. I have a good friend, a very similar scenario, that just wanted a brand new Range Rover, ordered it, had it at MSRP, and it came in, and they told him, "Hey, your car is here. It's the good news. The bad news is it's going to be about 10,000 more."
Oh my goodness. Jeez.
I know. And he took it, by the way, because he's like, "I'm done waiting. I need the car. I'm going."
Well, and that's the dealership, for that type of car and that, brand, that probably is a little easier than maybe some of the others. But what was the 10K? That was based on what?
That was based on, if you don't take it, the next guy will. We've got a waiting list for this particular vehicle. Wow. And they were hoping he was going to say no, because they probably could have even sold it for more, it sounded like.
That's crazy. Since we have you here, let's talk about some fun cars that you might have on the lot right now at Mastercars Inc. Are you still selling a lot of motorcycles? It's still kind of motorcycle season, right?
It is. Yep. And this is my favorite part of motorcycle season as we get into this fall, that weather you were just describing, which I'm getting my chili ingredients ready. I love it.
There you go. I like that.
Yeah. This is my kind of season. But yeah, we are. And then that's another COVID after effect. It's like a lot of people abandon the motorcycle market. New Harley sales are struggling quite a bit. And these young whippersnappers, they don't know how to shift. We don't have a lot of new riders coming into the segment. So it's, we're selling it to the guys that have been riding for years. But it is coming in that time of the year. And I love, this is real top down season coming. Summer, you always think summer, you think convertibles, but man, when it hits a high of 80 and the evenings are 60s, oh, that's so fun to drive a convertible. And we've got some great ones now. We've got some Z06 Corvettes. We've got a Viper Coupe. I'll tell you one we just sold, and I think you and I had a conversation about this. We just had a V-Series Escalade.
Oh, yeah, because I've been talking about it. So that one's sold, huh?
Oh, yeah, that one just sold. Went to, I'm a big soccer nut that went to a really good soccer family, and I was like, that's awesome. Your kids are never going to be late for practice, that's for sure. So a 700 horsepower Escalade shouldn't exist, but it does, and I love it.
How much are you dealing with, and I'm curious just about you since you're a car guy, you and your dad, have you dealt with some of the self-driving vehicles at all?
No, not really. The closest I've come is really Super Cruise and a GM product. And if you are on the right surface, it has the right paint on the roads and it works, it seems neat, but I'm too big of a control freak and car nut to let the car take over. I love driving, so I don't need it.
I do too. And I'm a little uneasy. So my friend Scott Jennings, who is a regular contributor here, you might know him from his appearances here on CNN. And I just heard from Senator SCHMITT because I shot him a message. Eric was a guest earlier. He's going to see Scott this weekend in Iowa, but he has a fancy self-driving vehicle. And when he and our mutual friend Joe Arnold came in from Louisville in May to see a Cardinals game, they took some pictures. Joe was horrified. He's in the passenger seat. Jennings is in the driver's seat, and he's not doing anything. And it's pretty reliable. I've been in a Tesla. This was many years ago when the technology wasn't quite what it is right now, but it still kind of freaks me out.
Oh, me too. I've got a buddy in the Bay Area who swears by his Teslas. He goes from one Tesla to another. He's a tech guy, and he does his commute. And, you've got to have some weight from your hand on the steering wheel. And apparently this is common in Teslas. I'm not endorsing this. They'll use like an ankle weight or something on there to like fool it. And then, he'll just be watching the news on his dash iPad while the car drives to and from work in Silicon Valley.
I guess it's the future, right? We're going to have to get used to it, but I'm not quite there. How's everything else? How's your dad doing? I know he's had some health issues.
He's doing good. His back is back. He had a sciatica that was giving him fits, and he's got that all sorted out. He's doing great. Back at it and yelling at us daily to sell more.
You too, though. Weren't you out a little bit for some health reasons? But we all have that in common, I think.
Oh yeah. I'm falling apart by the hour, it feels like. But I had a heart attack in December, but I'm doing great since.
Yeah, all the recovery is going well with that.
Yep, doing great, feel great, change my lifestyle. So you're not going to get rid of me this quick.
All right. Well, I'm glad you're doing well, and say hey to your dad for me.
Yeah,
And thanks for coming on. MasterCarsInc.com if you want to find out more. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you, buddy.
We'll
Good talking to you.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We've had some issues on the roads this afternoon, and things are actually improving in some areas. First, there's a jam headed into Illinois coming off the Poplar Street Bridge. Southbound 55 slowing at Bates. But westbound 64, they have cleared that accident that was just past Kings Highway. So some volume through there, but much better. Eastbound 40, though, an accident reported just east of Lindbergh. And out west, 70, just a little slow at A. 64, though, slow-moving traffic west of 94 out through the 70 split. But it's just moderate volume traffic. This report is brought to you by Barron Mirror Glass and Door. Barron Mirror Glass and Door, simply the finest when it comes to mirror glass and shower doors. You can't find better quality, prices, or service than at Barron Mirror Glass and Door. They have the basics all the way up to the elite. Barron Mirror Glass and Door can't be beat. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Bold, unapologetic, unfiltered. The Mark Cox Morning Show is covering the issues that matter to you. From borders to school boards, Mark Cox is St. Louis Conservative.
Retirement and don't know if you have enough money saved to retire. That is scary. Do you have a written retirement financial plan in place? Well, when it comes to retirement planning, the trusted team at Financial and Tax Architects are the best. They've helped people all over St. Louis retire with confidence. And that's what you want. You want to retire with confidence. Now, they offer a one-night, 2.5-hour adult education class called Retirement Planning 101. They hold these at colleges over the St. Louis area and in Illinois. No cost, no obligation, just learning. And at this class, you learn how to avoid costly mistakes, how to maximize your income, how to reduce taxes in retirement. So call them today, 314-888-5101, or visit fta-ria.com and take the first step toward a smarter retirement. 314-888-5101.
Your biggest choice in home restoration is, who do you trust with your home, your most valued asset? Few can match Banner Construction's experience and dedication to excellence. Banner is an elite preferred James Hardy contractor and Pella Window specialist. Restoration is a one-time opportunity to have Banner's design team show you architectural options to make your home the neighborhood showcase. Call for a free consultation, 314-569-1050. Now hiring qualified carpenters.
Attention St. Louis Medicaid residents in need of care at home. If you need assistance with daily activities, you can receive in-home care from a loved one that lives with you and they get paid. Through Medicaid, Freedom Care allows you to choose who provides your care at home in St. Louis, and they get paid weekly. Available to eligible Medicaid members in St. Louis. Call now to check your eligibility. It can be your daughter, son, a close relative, or trusted friend helping you with cooking, transportation, laundry, and other activities in your own home. You get the help you need, and your caregiver gets paid. Freedom Care has over 7,000 five-star Google reviews and is a leading choice in St. Louis for in-home care. If you have Medicaid and want to receive great care from a loved one, go to freedomcare.com, or for faster service, call 314-597-1749. 314-597-1749. That's 314-597-1749.
Freedom Care, we're here for you.
Mark Cox here. Let me introduce you to my friends at the Lit Cigar Lounge in St. Louis, where luxury meets comfort. Premium hand-rolled cigars, an extensive selection of rare bourbons and whiskeys and craft cocktails. It's comfortable for non-smokers, too. They have a state-of-the-art ventilation system. They have private lockers and live music every Friday night, perfect for date nights or business meetings or just winding down. Visit litstl.com.
Protect your liver and give it the support it deserves by making Active Liver from New Nordic part of your daily wellness routine. Find Active Liver in stores at your local CVS, Meijer Grocery, or online at Amazon or at newnordicusa.com.
Fast-paced, fact-based, and never boring. This is the Mark Reardon Show.
Brand new Attorney General of Missouri, Catherine Hanaway, will be with us in the studio, I'm told, tomorrow. I haven't seen Catherine in a while. She used to be a regular on the Reardon Roundtable, and then she went back into more private practice and deferred from offering opinions. I'm guessing she'll be back in the fold with opinions, and we'll get with her tomorrow. We'll get a Reardon Roundtable coming up Friday. George Gray from The Price is Right will be here in the 4 o'clock hour tomorrow playing a game we like to call The Price is Wrong. So that's all tomorrow on the show.
Stand by. Playback ready.
Now, the audio cut of the day.
Well, I like this quite a bit. There were protesters outside of Union Station shouting down, I don't even know what they're shouting down, the effort to make people safer. And J.D. Vance and Pete Hegseth and Stephen Miller were all there today. Here's the vice president confronting some of the protesters.
You hear these people outside screaming, free D.C. Let's free D.C. from lawlessness. Let's free Washington, D.C. from one of the highest murder rates in the entire world. Let's free Washington, D.C. so that young families can walk around and feel safe and secure. That's what we're trying to free D.C. from. And as Stephen said, it's kind of bizarre that we have a bunch of old, primarily white people who are out there protesting the policies that keep people safe when they've never felt danger in their entire life.
Exactly. And he mentioned Steve. That's Stephen Miller, Deputy White House Chief of Staff.
For too long, 99% of this city has been terrorized by 1% of this city. And the voices that you hear out there, those crazy communists, they have no roots. They have no connection to the city. They have no families they're raising in this city. They have no one that they're sending to school in this city. They have no jobs in this city. They have no connections to this community at all. They're the ones who've been advocating for the 1%, the criminals, the killers, the rapists, the drug dealers. And I'm glad they're here today. Because me, Pete, and the vice president are all going to leave here, and inspired by them, we're going to add thousands more resources to this city to get the criminals and the gang members out of here. We're going to dismantle those networks, and we're going to prove that a city can serve for the law-abiding citizens who live there. You're not going to let the communists destroy a great American city, let alone the nation's capital.
Well said, Stephen Miller. And then somebody asked J.D. Vance this question.
Polls show that a majority of D.C. residents don't support the Guard here. So what's your message to the majority of D.C. residents?
I'm highly skeptical that a majority of D.C. residents don't want their city to have better public safety and more reasonable safety standards within Washington, D.C. I don't know what poll you're talking about. Maybe the same polls that said Kamala Harris would win the popular vote by 10 points.
Yeah, it was the Washington Post that featured a poll in which 91% of the people either answered the question that they were somewhat concerned or very concerned about crime in the nation's capital. So I think the polling, again, this is one of those 90-10 issues, if you will. This one literally is, and the professional white old hippie protesters are out there despite the fact that the majority of the people out there want to feel safer. Have a great Wednesday night. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 3.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Still some volume out there. Northbound 170 headed for 70. Southbound at 6440. And westbound 40 slowing, approaching Hampton out through McCausland. Out west, some moderate volume west of 94 through 70. 70 is a little bit better, but it is slow. Highway A out through Wentzville. And still some heavy traffic eastbound 5564. coming up of the Poplar Street Bridge and headed toward the 70 split. This report brought to you by the Diamond Shop. The Diamond Shop, making St. Louis sparkle for over 100 years. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Rhino Shield is far superior to even the best traditional exterior house paint. Rhino Shield is 8 to 10 times thicker than paint and comes with a 25-year transferable warranty. Rhino Shield is the only ceramic coating company that has been chosen by Disney, This Old House, and 3 times on HGTV's Curb Appeal, where every episode is concentrated on unpainted brick, bonds and seals to stucco, wood, hardy, block, color lock, masonite, and more. No better product for those steel aluminum-sided homes that have become, chalky and tired looking. We coat sloped and flat roofs to extend their lives too. After 15 years, we've got a great reputation and a superior product. As long as it's affordable, why wouldn't you do it? Before you make the costly mistake of painting with traditional paint, you'd be best served to call Rhino Shield today. We are the experts and our evaluations are free. 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com. Tell them, ladies.
Don't paint, don't Rhino, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
How do you feel about your retirement future? I'm going to guide you into some answers to some questions, because if you're nearing retirement, or if you're in retirement, if you're far away from retirement, it doesn't matter. Get with Thomas Helbig and the team from the Retirement Advisory Group, Bob Kershaw, his nephew, Tammy, Bob's wife. It's a family operation. They can help you build your own personalized structured income plan. These things are not easy, given the inflation hit that the 401k has, undertook. Now, the Dow has kind of rallied back. The market's looking good right now, but that doesn't mean that things are not lurking around the corner. And, I had a great experience when I first got to know Thomas and the team. He gave me a list of about a dozen clients. I got a hold of about 8 or 9 of them, and they were very consistent in what they told me. And one thing that they all said is they wish they would have met Thomas sooner. You don't have to be that person. Come in for a free retirement review. They'll give you a copy of their book, Your Key to a Worry-Free Retirement. They've been doing this for almost 40 years in St. Louis. RetirementKey.com for the official financial planners of this show, Thomas Helbig and the Retirement Advisory Group.
What's the most important thing when it comes to getting your roof replaced? Honesty, because honestly, most of us don't know what it takes to replace a roof. Mark Cox here from my friends at Correll Roofing Company. Curtis Correll is a friend of mine. I've known him for many years. And when he came to my house to look at my roof, he brought back pictures and showed me where the damage was from the hail. He worked with my insurance adjuster. He made sure I understood exactly what they would be replacing on my roof. Are they putting down felt? Are they replacing any wood? What quality of shingle are you getting on your roof? These are all questions most of us don't know to ask, so you need to be able to trust the person who is doing the work for you. You can trust Curtis Correll. He's got crews with over 20 years of experience. He pays attention to detail with quality materials and workmanship. Call him at 314-222-9529. That's 314-222-9529 or Correll Roofing Co. on Facebook.
Scott Jennings here. I'm excited to be part of the St. Louis conservative conversation, cutting through the noise with unfiltered common sense. Catch the Scott Jennings Show weekdays at 8 p.m. starting August 25th on 97.1 FM Talk.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-500-5000.
That's 314-500-5000.
All on the free Odyssey app.
Welcome back to Texas. I'm John Saucier, Fox News. Democratic representatives in Texas debating a new congressional map that favors Republicans. Fox's Jessica Rosenthal has more.
Ahead of the vote, Texas Democratic representatives like Linda Garcia spoke out, calling the map a racial gerrymander, and picked apart the new lines county by county.
The very heart of Dallas's diverse communities is being diluted by drawing counties that do not reflect the same racial or cultural makeup.
But the bill's author, Republican Representative Todd Hunter, insisted this wasn't about race, but about politics.
While there's no guarantee of an electorate success, Republicans will now have an opportunity to potentially win these districts.
The National Redistricting Foundation has already asked a federal court to block the Republicans' new congressional map from being implemented. Jessica Rosenthal, Fox News.
North Carolina declaring a state of emergency as the East Coast prepares for the effects of Hurricane Aaron. Fox's Mike Seidel is in Kitty Hawk, North Carolina.
The wind and the surf continues to ramp up this afternoon along the Outer Banks of North Carolina. I'm on the beach right at the edge of the surf and just offshore. We've got 6 to 8 footers breaking. It looks like a giant wash tub effect in the Atlantic today. Off the coast of Cape Hatteras at the buoy, 20-foot seas. These wave heights will increase, and as they come into the surf zone tomorrow, they will really pound these beaches. Also, there's a storm surge warning with water above normally high ground expected 2 to 4 feet. That will send the surf and some of these waves into the dune line, which protects all the property here on the Outer Banks. We'll be live on Fox Weather and Fox News throughout the hurricane. In Kitty Hawk, I'm meteorologist Mike Seidel, Fox Weather.
President Trump's calling on Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook to resign after allegations from Trump ally Bill Polk that Cook made false statements on mortgage applications. Cook says she has no plans to step down. America's listening to Fox News.
William is one of millions of Americans who uses GoodRx to save on the cost of their prescriptions.
My oldest daughter, Camilla, 2 days old, she had to have open heart surgery. All of a sudden, she's on 5 different medications. It adds up at the end of the month. Me and the pharmacist got so tight. She said, GoodRx save you a lot of money. Saving that extra $200-300 a month. We're able to do all these extra activities, so it puts less stress on our household, and it puts less stress on our pockets.
Download the free app or visit GoodRx.com and start saving today. GoodRx user compensated for their time. GoodRx is not insurance, but can be used instead of insurance.
You're still glowing, flirting, grooving. You still got it. But your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and help strengthen your immune response. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Schedule in minutes at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
I'm Taylor Riggs, and